Tonight from Swayze Field in Oxford, Mississippi, it's the Thursday night start to an SEC weekend. This is the SEC on ESPN. Another great crowd in Oxford out to see the 12th ranked team in the country and a desperate LSU team sitting at 4-11 in conference play trying to make a move. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside David DeLucci. We've got a fun one tonight throughout this entire weekend. And, David, we're looking at an Ole Miss team that, as always, has designs on making it to Omaha. But something just seems to be a little bit off with this team. How do you view where they are, and can they reach their goals?
Well, if you look at their record, they're 9-6, and you think that's great sitting in the SEC West. But they've lost their last three series. They played Arkansas, they played Mississippi State, and Florida. Ole Miss needs to pick it up a little bit. They're sitting pretty to make the SEC tournament, but they want to finish strong because they're still in consideration for a national seed.
Get an opportunity to host all the way there. That's something LSU is used to. What they're not used to is where their record is now. Although they have been off to slow starts with hot finishes before, including 3 different times where they finished the year in Omaha. One time they won it all with a slow start. How can LSU find some of that Tiger magic?
Well, in that 2017 team right there, they had veteran guys like Alex Lane, Kramer Robinson, Jared Poche. This year, the upperclassmen have not stepped up yet. They've been led by some outstanding freshmen. They need guys like Cade Beloso and Giovanni DiGiacomo to step up. Both of those guys are healthy now, and if they can get hot at the right time, LSU can make their way into the SEC tournament.
You could say they need to catch a break, and they caught a break tonight because Derek Diamond will come out of the bullpen to start this one. As he returns to the rotation, we'll see how long that lasts. Gunnar Hoagland, second in the nation in strikeouts, was due to start this game. He was experiencing some tightness. They are holding him out for tonight. We'll see when he throws. What he got on Diamond?
Yeah, Diamond's got an outstanding fastball. Rapsodo says he throws the hardest fastball on that Ole Miss pitching staff. But you saw the other key was take this game all the way to Broadway, not New York Broadway, but Taylor Broadway, who leaves the SEC and saves. He's got to eat up as many innings as he can tonight to get it to that back end of the bullpen.
Here's one of those fantastic LSU freshmen to lead things off out of New Orleans' brother Martin Trey Morgan, who's riding a 7-game hit streak, 10 hits including a home run in that span, and the Tigers in the road Grays. Coming in at 22-14, currently an RPI in the high 20s, and a strength of schedule at 5. Would have them considered for the tournament, but the prognostications so far say they wouldn't be in. What a year for Morgan, and OPS over 1,000 with 4 home runs and 27 driven in. He's got 11 doubles to his name and 3 triples. Pretty good speed for a first baseman with 3 triples. Diamond finds the edge for a strike. Derek Diamond was in the starting rotation for Ole Miss. Struggled in his last start. They moved him to the bullpen looking for that bridge to Broadway. And he's made his last 2 appearances out of the Rebels' pen. I guess the good news, David, is that he's been stretched out over the season. He threw 105 against Alabama earlier this year, but only 27 pitches over his last 2 appearances, including 15 Tuesday night.
Yeah, really, his last 6 1/3 innings, he's given up 12 earned runs. It's just been of late that he hasn't found the strike zone very often, but that's a great start right there, getting the first out.
Beautiful backhand by Jacob Gonzalez, the talented freshman, and there's one down. Sunny skies and 63 degrees at first pitch in Oxford tonight. Setting up to be a beautiful weekend and a busy weekend. Lane Kiffin's football team will be on the field on Saturday. Here's Dylan Cruz at the plate, and a fastball runs inside on him. One of the top prospects in the SEC, Cruz, on the Golden Spikes midseason award watch list. How do you think Diamond reacts to this opportunity? It wasn't until this afternoon he knew he would be starting. Is that good for him to kind of take the pressure off, just grab a ball and go?
Sometimes it is, Tom. Sometimes when a young man is sitting there and he knows he's going to start every 4 or 5 days and he's got that schedule in his head, he starts to overthink things. The butterflies set in way ahead of time. And when you get this start that comes out of nowhere, you're able to go out there and allow your body and your muscle memory to take over and not put too much pressure on yourself. So some guys take it and run. Some guys have career nights when they have situations like this.
His last start came against #1 Arkansas a couple of weekends ago, allowed 5 earned and just an inning and a third in a wild Sunday game that ended up being an 18-14 Arkansas win after Ole Miss fought back from a double-digit deficit to tie the game. Here's Gavin Dugas, top 10 in the league in home runs and RBI. Cruz can run a little bit, 10 bags and 12 tries. Over on ESPNU, Boston College has a man up and just scored a go-ahead goal with 1:04 to go in women's lacrosse. We will move there as soon as they finish in Syracuse.
Well, that's a fantastic breaking pitch right there from Derek Diamond, and that's what he's going to have to do to this LSU team that can absolutely slug with the best of them. They are very good at hitting home runs. They got a little bit of uppercut in their swing, and Diamond's going to have to keep them off balance. He's going to have to elevate the fastball about chest high, and if he can continue to get that called strike, that breaking pitch down at the knees on the outside corner, he'll keep those big boppers at bay.
LSU 4th in the nation in home runs with 54. 0-2 to Gavin Dugas with K. Doty on deck. Another breaking ball. This one lifted to center. TJ McCants has plenty of space. 2 down.
And that's a perfect compliment. Talked about Derek Diamond early on in this season against Texas. Came out as a starter throwing 96 and 97 miles an hour. He has an absolute flamer for a fastball. And he complements it when he takes off miles per hour to throw that curveball. He'll throw the curveball 82 to 83 miles an hour. That's a big difference.
Kind of seems early in this game. I haven't tallied every single pitch, but he's almost pitching backwards to LSU. We haven't seen much of the fastball yet. At least that at bat to Dugas. Another throw over to Dylan Cruz.
And I think that's smart. You know, look, we're a little past the halfway mark in the season, and the SEC scouting report is out throughout all of the teams in the conference, and it is becoming more and more evident that the LSU hitters, when they can pigeonhole you and get it in a hitter's count and sit dead red fastball, they can hit a fastball with the best of them out there. So I like the way that Diamond is pitching backwards, as you said. He's getting that breaking pitch over for strike one, and then he's got the hitters thinking and questioning what's coming next. So he's done a great job, top of the first, of really commanding the strike zone, especially with the off speed.
Diamond's come home 11 times. He's thrown over to first nearly half as many. Baker holding on Cruz. An LSU team with 38 stolen bases on this season. They are not the kind of team that's going to do damage going station to station. As you mentioned earlier, they're going to do damage by putting it over the fence. Doty's got 9 home runs on the season, but just 1 in conference play, and he's really struggled since the calendar turned to SEC action. Is he throwing over too much?
I'm sitting here looking and I'm thinking, man, he's commanding the strike zone. If he can get a good pace and a good rhythm going, it's going to help him and the defense behind him. And the more that he's throwing over the first base, I'm just wondering if that call is coming out from Mike Bianco or if that's on him. But obviously you would like to see him concentrate a little bit more on the batter because he has good stuff right there.
One-two to Doty on the way. Snap throw to second, goes into center field. Cruz is going to pick up an extra base on a throwing error from the catcher Hayden Dunhurst. A stolen base, and it was almost like either somebody didn't cover the bag or Dunhurst wasn't sure where he was going to go.
Yeah, it was a tough pitch for Dunhurst right there. It was a curveball that was breaking toward the first base side, so you can see where that ball tailed on him to begin with. But I'm going to tell you something else too, Tom. We're wondering why he was throwing so many balls over to first base. He's relying on the curveball, and that's obvious to the hitter that if he continues to try to stop the running game by pickoffs, he's gonna keep throwing that off-speed pitch. He knows that it's easier to steal bases on off-speed than it is fastball, and it's just a clue that the other team can pick up.
Almost looked on that throw down like Dunhurst was looking at first originally as he threw down. Another timeout in the BC-Syracuse women's lacrosse game. Under a minute to go, and in that top four showdown, Boston College has a one-goal lead late. We will go over to ESPNU as soon as that game finishes. Here's the 2-2 to Doty. Ground ball to the left side, sliding stop bench, and he throws it away. LSU picks up a run on the errant throw, which would have ended the inning. A couple of Ole Miss errors here in the first inning, and the Tigers are on the board.
It looked like it was going to be a fantastic play by Bench at third base, and he just came up. He had plenty of time, very similar to Dunhurst. It just looked like that throw sailed on him, didn't get his front shoulder squared up to first base, and no chance for Cale Baker to get a mitt on that ball.
So here's Cade Beloso, and we mentioned the fact that LSU needs to catch some breaks, maybe get lucky a little bit. I'm sure Paul Maneri will take a first inning run thanks to a couple of errors. Beloso, junior from New Orleans, 3 home runs on the season. There's a fastball at 92.
And you have to wonder, Tom, with all of the pickoff attempts that Diamond had going toward first base with Dylan Cruz, did it get the defense on their heels? Is that the reason why they're a little rusty right now from the catcher and the third base throws?
Yeah, not a whole lot of action on the field. Trey Morgan started with a ground out, then Cruz with a single to left. Stole second, went to third on the throwing error. Dugas with a lazy foul ball. And then Doty reaches on the error. That was the 4th error of the season by Justin Bench. "20 seconds to go in the Carrier Dome. Boston College going to pull off an upset on the road, looks like.
It's a little glimpse right there, 94-mile-an-hour fastball in the outside corner. Aside from all of the pickoff throws that Diamond has made and the 2 throwing errors this inning, you have to be really impressed and pleased with the way that Diamond is commanding fastball and curveball.
Little dribbler, and picked up in fair territory. Diamond has another one get away, and LSU picks up a run on the error. All right, Mike, thanks, and welcome to Oxford, Mississippi, where 3 Ole Miss errors in the first inning has held the door open for LSU. It's a 1-0 Tigers lead. Tom Hart alongside David DeLucci. Derek Diamond, the surprise starter for Ole Miss tonight. Gunnar Hoagland, the nation's second best strikeout pitcher, a late scratch due to tightness after his start this weekend. And so Diamond comes out of the bullpen, and he has been undone by an error from his catcher and his third baseman. And then just moments ago, his throw to first was misplayed. No word on the scoring error just yet, but LSU has 2 on and 2 out in this SEC. Umpiring crew is going to get together and talk about it. I was a little surprised as we take another look at that play that Diamond fielded it. It looked like that ball was going to go foul.
Yeah, right off the bat, it looks like there is spin that's heading toward the first base dugout, but Diamond saw that Beloso was about halfway down the baseline, figured that he could make the throw, didn't take in consideration that Beloso was blocking the target from Cale Baker on first base, and it was a throw that probably was shielded by Beloso. Baker didn't get a good read at it, couldn't put his glove on it. It's unfortunate for Derek Diamond because he has thrown the ball really well early in this game. He's commanded a curveball in the low outside corner against the LSU hitters. His fastball is at 94, 95 miles an hour, but the errant plays on Ole Miss's defense is allowing LSU to extend this inning, which is causing Derek Diamond to throw way more pitches than he should be at this point.
So a couple different things to look at as we watch this replay. Was he in foul territory down the line? Did he obstruct the throw? And he is in fair territory, it looks like. And then I think secondly, they're going to wonder whether or not Beloso turned to the field or gave himself up running through the bag because they did get a tag on him. David, how do you see it?
Yeah, he's got to run in that box. And we saw that Beloso had his feet, when he was running on that path, it was to the right side of the first base foul line, and you can see that box on the right of that line as well. He was perfectly legal the way he was running down there, so they could have checked that out. And no, there was no obstruction in that. He ran in his lane. And then as far as getting out by Chatagnier, he would have had to make a turn to second base, which would have allowed Chatagnier to get him out. He did not do that either, so that's a great call. He's safe either way you look at it.
Alphabet soup for Ole Miss here in the first inning. E2, E5, and E3. And here's Jordan Thompson, the LSU shortstop. Thompson hitting better in the SEC than he has overall this season. That's rare to see, especially for a young player. But LSU with a real opportunity here in the opening frame, game 1 of this series. And Derek Diamond, who's relied heavily on his slider, misses upstairs that time. Thompson, one of 2 shortstops we'll see in this game tonight from the state of California. He's from Chula Vista, 2-time SEC Freshman of the Week. Fantastic article in the Baton Rouge Advocate today by Wilson Alexander. It talks about him growing up as a huge baseball fan. And there's a breaking ball in for a strike. Grew up a Padres fan in the San Diego area. And the player that he watched that was a great motivator for him was a great Khalil Green, who was a Gold Spikes Award winner out of Clemson before an abbreviated major league career. One to Thompson. And he ropes this one to left field. Doty's around third. He'll come home without a throw, and LSU has ridden these 3 errors to a 2-run first already and more coming.
Yeah, and we've seen Derek Diamond has made some fantastic pitches this inning, and here we are at 24, 25 pitches in the first inning. You got to wonder if fatigue is setting in already in this half inning, because that he just left belt high, and Jordan Thompson absolutely crushed it. It's tough on a pitcher's mentality when you know you should be out of that inning and your offense should be in the dugout right now scoring runs for you, but you're continuing to try to get that third out.
Here's Giovanni DiGiacomo, who missed most of the first half of the season due to a hamstring injury. Ground ball to second. Ole Miss handles this one. That one even came with some tightness of breath. LSU takes advantage of the 3 errors. The Tigers put 2 on the board in the first. When we return, we'll see Gonzalez, Chatagnier, and Graham come to the plate for Ole Miss. Most innings pitched, nearly at 53, and he struck out 67 on the season. Here's the scouting report on him.
He's got 2 types of fastball. He'll throw that 4-seam fastball up to 94, maybe 95 when the adrenaline's pumping. He also has a 2-seamer that's got a lot of sink on it, a downward action. Fantastic command of 3 pitches. Will throw a curveball, slider, and also a changeup, which are both swing and misses for his off-speed pitches. This is a bona fide ace right here. He had a streak of 33 innings without an earned run. Against Tennessee, they scored the first time against him. So this guy right here is one of the best in the nation. He's a great Friday night starter for LSU this year.
He was a 37th round pick in 2018 of the New York Yankees, coming out of Destrehan High School. And here's the lineup he'll face for Ole Miss. It's an Ole Miss team that knows how to score. We'll do a deeper dive a little bit later. There might not be a whole lot of hitters that really scare you in this batting order, but boy, can they score some runs. They are second in the country in hits, 20th in the country in batting average, and they scored nearly 8 runs a game. Jacob Gonzalez will lead off for Ole Miss, for a Rebels team that's only hit 41 home runs on the year. And he pulls the first pitch to first. Trey Morgan is a sensational defensive first baseman, and he handles that one with ease.
So this is where we sit right now, Tom. Your pitcher just had to work overtime in the top of the first inning, and your leadoff man swings at the first pitch and hits a ground ball to the first baseman for the first out. That puts pressure on the number 2 guy. He's going to have to take at least one pitch to rest Derek Diamond in that dugout.
And he gets the take sign and takes a fastball low. Peyton Chatnier's riding an 8-game hit streak, Texas native. Strikeout prone, 30 Ks on the season. If you're a hitter, and especially the leadoff man like Gonzalez, and you do that, here's a ground ball to the left side. He saw just 2 pitches. Is Derek Diamond throwing some glances around the dugout right now going, how about a little help, fellas?
I mean, he's not happy. I can tell you that right now. I mean, you would like, if you're going to swing at pitches, to get base hits out of them. But really and truly, I mean, somebody should call timeout, maybe kick the dirt off their cleats, tie their shoestring, just give him a break right here. You don't want to run him back out within 5 minutes of him just coming off the field for sure.
Oh, my goodness. Well, this one deep to left center field. DiGiacomo can't find it. First pitch swinging for Graham, and he says, I don't need to wait. I'll just hit it out of here. Seventh home run of the season for Kevin Graham.
Now, you'll excuse a home run on a first pitch swing of Kevin Graham. Nice piece of hitting. This has been one of the hottest hitters for the Ole Miss Rebels this year, and he continues his hot streak right there with a home run to left center field. Thankfully, we both, I think you and I thought, if that was a deep pop-up swinging first pitch, that is not going to be good. Derek Diamond might have stayed on the bench for an extra 30 seconds right there, but fortunately for the Rebs, they closed the gap.
It's only the second home run allowed this season by Landon Marceau. He was leading the SEC in that category coming into this one. Hayden Dunhurst at the plate, and he's swinging early. 0-1. Dunhurst top 10 in the SEC in walks and on-base percentage. An OPS over 1,000 and a .342 average. Nothing in 2. Up and in.
Yeah, even though that right there, 93-mile-an-hour fastball is for a ball, that's a purpose pitch. That's the four-seamer that he can ride. It's got a little bit of rise to that ball, but he also has a two-seamer that'll cut on the outside part of the plate.
Uh-oh, this one headed for Showerland. If it's fair, it is over the pole, and they are not going to waste their suds on that one. A long foul ball. You know, as a broadcaster, you pick up different visual cues to figure out if a home run is fair or foul. You can watch the batter, you can watch the pitcher, you can watch the fielder. But if you're calling a game from Swayze Field, just watch the students because they have the best view. And if they don't throw their beer in the air, pretty good chance it was a foul ball.
Well, this ball is absolutely crushed, and it is a moonshot. But I'm going to tell you what, maybe the fans were distracted because that looks pretty darn good to me. I mean, it looks like it went directly over the foul pole. It's a tough angle from our vantage point.
All right, so now I'm curious. They're going to go to replay and see if they can judge if this was fair or foul. Will we get a delayed right field shower if one of those guys circles his index finger?
Oh, yeah, you better believe it. And remember, it's where the ball crosses the foul pole. And from this angle, and remember, this is a difficult angle for us. So we're not seeing the same angle that the home plate umpire is looking at. But from this angle, it looks pretty darn good to me that it went over the foul pole as a fair ball.
Hayden Dunhurst is standing at first base. He's just waiting to start his trot.
Well, and oftentimes, too, you look at the batter, especially on a hit by pitch, and he'll show you clues as well as to whether he was hit or whether that ball stayed fair. And Hayden Dunhurst immediately after he hit first base was looking for an umpire to chat with because he felt like it stayed fair as it went over the right field foul post.
Palmineri's team trying to find a win on the road. Here we go. Foul ball. And that'll put Dunhurst back at the plate with a 1-2 count.
But look, let me tell you, even though it's a foul ball, Hayden Dunhurst gets to go back with a 1-2 count. He has given Derek Diamond, because of this delay, an opportunity to rest on that dugout, catch a little breath and some more hydrating fluid before he gets back out there, because it was a very fast inning up to that point.
What do you think Palmineri wants to know about? He'll meet with Jeffrey Macias now, who's the umpire at first base. Four-time National Coach of the Year. The call went LSU's way. There is the process of replay, and it's not really challenges. It's just in college you can just say, hey, can you guys take a look at that? And a lot of times in a borderline call like that, the umpires would want to take a look at it anyway after they discussed it. What do you think Paul could be asking about?
I really have no idea, because you're right. I mean, that's one of the replays that is allowed. So fair or foul is definitely on the list. Not quite sure.
So back to action. The 1-2 fastball misses away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Fair foul is literally in the college baseball rule book. Section 2, Article A is the very first reviewable play that they list. It's essentially why it was put into play. That foul tip got the hand of Alex Milazzo. LSU catcher have to shake that one off. Full count to Dunhurst. Came to Ole Miss from Pearl River Central, riding a 4-game hit streak. He had a game a couple of weekends ago against Arkansas. He went 5 for 5 with a double and drove in a couple. Fastball misses low. And after 4 pitches to the first 3 batters, Dunhurst able to reach with a walk.
And as we mentioned, this is definitely the break that Derek Diamond was looking for. And it also allowed Hayden Dunhurst the opportunity to see a bunch of pitches from Landon Marceau. He saw that 4-seam fastball that was up and in. He saw the 2-seam sinker. It will benefit his next at bat, the fact that he's seen the whole arsenal of Landon Marceau in the first AB.
Dunhurst saw 8 pitches, more than the first 3 hitters combined. That one laced into the seats. There are 6 lefties in this Ole Miss batting order. lefties hitting 30 points higher against Marceau than righties this season. So Mike Bianco, the former LSU catcher, has loaded him up. 0-1 to bench. Bench is a versatile player. He can play just about anywhere. Came in as a shortstop from Reddington Beach, Florida. The 3-time Gold Glove Award winner in high school. High chopper. Going to have to hurry. Doty takes care of it. And that'll close the Ole Miss first. But not before Kevin Graham goes Oppo Taco and puts Ole Miss on the board. We got a 1-run game through 1.
Paying for the post.
Last lap and win the series.
Get our special TV offer, a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale. Go to stamps.com/offer and never go to the post office again.
Family tonight in Oxford. Drew Bianco hit this home run a couple of years ago against his dad's team in Baton Rouge. Ole Miss would get the last lap and win the series down there for the first time since '82. Dad could hardly stand to watch. Watch as he looks away. His son comes around down the line. Paul Maneri is an old school manager that plays with field. And so he said, I'm going to put Drew in the starting lineup when we get up there. And I think he's got the ability to run into one. And so he's starting him at second base tonight. Mike Bianco, of course, was an LSU catcher. And David, when we talked to him this week, of course, he just raved about not only his time at LSU, where he caught the likes of Ben McDonald, but also what Skip Bertman meant to him as a head coach. And as a guy he was an assistant coach for. He said, I wouldn't be where I am today without Skip Bertman.
Absolutely. And I've spoken with him over the past and what Skip Bertman means to him. And Mike, his time as a player and a coach, he was like a sponge. He absorbed everything that Skip Bertman was teaching. And he has implemented that in the Ole Miss program. It's called the system, and the system still works. And what he has done is he's polished the system and he's adapted to the modern day player because, hey, players coming out of high school are different, the parents are different, but statistics are still the same. And it goes not only on the field but off the field as well. I mean, Mike told us, you know, you got to attend Rotary Club meetings and you got to attend the hundreds and hundreds of meetings. It's not all about what happens on the field. And he has developed an absolute powerhouse in the Ole Miss program. They have an intimidating stadium. They have an intimidating crowd. The only thing he really lacks over there that LSU had was Chris Guillot and the strike lady running up and down the stadium. But other than that, he has built a very, very fantastic home field advantage for his program.
Alex Milazzo pulls off the breaking ball. High strikeout rate for the bottom two hitters in this LSU order tonight. Milazzo K's 33% of the time. He's down 0-2. I was talking with Skip a few years ago, and I asked him, when you built the program, what was the key to success? And he looked at me and he said, diaper changing tables. Yeah, that's how I reacted.
What?
And he goes, no. You got to understand, to get the players, you have to have the crowd, and to get the crowd, you got to have mama, because mama can't come to the game. Now, granted, this is the mid-'80s, right? But mama can't come to the game if there's not a place to take care of the kids. So we put diaper changing tables in the bathrooms. Now mama can bring everybody, the entire family to the game. Next thing you know, the place is packed. We get all the players we want, and national titles follow.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because Ole Miss has a state-of-the-art playground out at the stadium. And now it makes sense to me for the very reason. I mean, this is a family atmosphere. There's been a lot of upgrades to Swayze Stadium, and it is a very fan-friendly place. And now that you bring that up, look, you can see the youngsters out there in the outfield. It is a place where mom can go with her children and dad, and college students can go out in the outfield and have a great time.
Something for everybody. Milazzo fouls another one off. Yeah, I reacted the same way. Come on, man. Like, look at the numbers that we've tied. Look at that billboard in right field. You talking about diaper changing tables? Learned it from Ron Frazier at Miami. You got to get people in the ballpark first, and what a tradition they've had at LSU over the years.
That is too funny. I would have thought he'd have said, throwing fastballs in certain counts and recruiting big-time players from all over the country. But, it's funny. When I played there in the early 90s, there was a wall of pine trees around the left field, and we did get good crowds over there. But when Coach Bianco went out there, those pine trees got cut. It became a great place to put barbecue pits and gather and increase the fan capacity by about 3 times. And it's also much more of a hitter-friendly park when there's no pine trees out in the outfield cutting that wind back, too.
Yeah, I could see it. Here's a payoff to Milazzo, really battling in this at-bat, and he bangs it up the middle for Gonzalez to handle. Shaky first inning defensively for Ole Miss. They committed 3 errors in the frame. Gonzalez handles that one. It's back to the top of the order now for Trey Morgan. We'll talk about Trey Morgan's defensive ability. It was honed by his dad, John, who played college football at Morris Brown. But starting at just 4 years old, Dad started throwing short hops from shortstop to first base to get him to handle it. And he has developed through a lot of hard work into one of the best defensive first basemen you'll see. His dad's thinking at the time was, no matter what happens in a game, 85% of balls go to first base. So you're going to be involved in 85% of the plays. 0-2.
I like the way he thinks. And isn't that a sign of all of the clutch players as they want the ball in their hands? They want to be involved in the play every single time.
I think what's different is usually when you take a player of Trey's ability and you put him at first base, it's usually guys that eventually get stuck at first base. He chose first base. Spoils that fastball, 1-2.
He's got exceptional speed too, and when we met with Coach Maneri the other day, we asked him, their initial intentions was to put him in the outfield. When they saw the glove at first base, they said there's no way. The amount of plays that he saves at first base with that glove is incredible. If you're an infielder, you love to throw to Trey Morgan. He's going to pick it out of the dirt almost every time.
Caught looking at the curveball. A couple of Ks in the second for Diamond. David, great rebound inning for Diamond.
Absolutely, and there it is again. It's the curveball. It was effective in the first inning. It's complementing that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he has, and he's locating it on the outside corner of lefties and righties.
Come at me. Come at me, bro.
Nana's a gamer.
Must be that nation.
Done it.
All parts.
Passed. Unless you wanted FedEx it, right? You'd sign up for it.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't care if it's a day old. I'd still like to taste it. Nothing better than ballpark food. I definitely miss the smells and the sounds of the ballpark.
Here's T.J. McCants. Incredible sights and sounds from Duty Noble Field this weekend. McCants chops it to the right side over the head of Bianco. And it's a leadoff single for the Ole Miss center fielder. Did you notice or know that Mississippi State outdrew the Yankees this weekend?
I watched y'all's broadcast. I heard you say it, and I absolutely could believe it when you said it. I mean, most of these SEC schools can outdraw a majority of the major league stadiums, period. I mean, it's almost when you sign and go play pro ball and you spend a few years in the minor leagues, it's a step down. You don't have the adrenaline every single time you step out there. The fan base isn't the same. The facilities nowadays are outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of these youngsters out of high school are signing with colleges, because they know that they're going to develop, they're going to get taken care of. The Ole Miss program has everything you need, from a weight room, a nutritionalist. These guys pack on muscle and weight, add velocity. They get everything they need in a great college education for 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and then they can go and play pro ball.
Hayden Leatherwood pulls it to first. Sidearm to second for one. Back to first. And it got away from Marceau. But, wow, what a pickup by Trey Morgan to get the lead runner. That's what we're talking about with his defensive ability.
Yeah, that's the example of elite athleticism right there, and the ability to move his body in ways. Talk about strength and agility, and that's it right there. That's a baseball player. That is a fantastic job of staying with that ball and firing a strike. A lot of guys could not do that, especially on the run like he was.
Here's Cale Baker riding a 5-game hit streak. Swing and a miss. Came to Ole Miss from Wabash Valley College after playing at Gahanna Lincoln in Ohio. Missed some time with a broken hamate bone earlier this season. We're talking about elite defensive first baseman. And one from his hometown, former Kentucky first baseman Evan White, now with the Mariners. That dude could pick it and still can. And talked to him earlier this season after winning a Gold Glove with the Mariners last year. And Evan said, well, kind of like Trey Morgan, it's something that I worked on at an early age. Even his grandma would hit him ground balls. And that ground ball gets through the middle. Leatherwood stops at second. 2 on with 1 out. Opportunity for Ole Miss here at the bottom of the order.
I would have to believe that Mama was not hitting rifle shots to short pop him in the kneecap, right? I mean, she would have to take it easy on her grandbaby, huh?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Here's Calvin Harris coming off of Tommy John surgery, hitting 171 with a home run. But hey, if grandma's willing to hit grounders to you, then just about everybody else is going to do the same thing, right? Takes a village to win a Gold Glove.
I'm sure if he had a sister or a brother, they wanted him to work on blocking balls behind the plate without catcher's gear sometimes after a family quarrel.
This is how we're going to settle it, folks. Marceau misses upstairs with the fastball, 1-1. Harris from Western Dubuque High School. Suffered the torn UCL, excuse me, during high school, but they didn't know it. They didn't find out until he got to Ole Miss. Fastball just off the plate inside. Iowa was able to play a good chunk of its high school baseball season. They play in the summer instead of the spring, so he injured the arm in July. At one point continued playing and then finally realized how severe the injury was. So he was hitting off a tee until December after recovery, and then in January when he was finally fully released to swing. And he can swing it. First at bat in an SEC game, a pinch hit home run in the bottom of the 8th against Auburn. Next day he drove in 3.
Well, you talk about his toughness. I mean, he's a throwback. Look at him. No batting gloves. Just a very simple stance right there. Not a whole lot of moving parts. That's very good for a young man that's being utilized as a pinch hitter or a spot starter right there. There's not a whole lot to go wrong. Easy to time up a pitcher when you don't get consistent at bats.
Goes down swinging. There's 2 down now. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball comes your way this week from the National League West in a big-time showdown between the Padres and the Dodgers. LA took 2 out of 3 last week in a Petco. Our coverage begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app with baseball tonight. Sunday night countdown. There'll be some SEC flavor to begin that series out there tonight. Walker Buehler will get the ball.
Padres also have former LSU shortstop Austin Nola that's been out for quite some time since spring training with a thumb injury. Hoping to get him back. He was a shortstop at LSU, and for the Padres have moved him to catcher. He's been outstanding.
It's an incredible story for Nola, who restarted his career after years in the minors as a middle infielder. And he was so good at short. David, I don't know if you remember this time, but he's the one that caused DJ LeMahieu to change positions. You must be pretty good if that's the case. So came back to Baton Rouge, was thinking about changing positions, leaned on some friends, and said, you know what, I'm going to give this thing a try. And helped the Padres to some postseason success last year, swing and a miss. It came at a dinner at Ruffino's, of all places, in Baton Rouge, where he made the decision to make the change from middle infield to behind the plate. Usually the biggest decisions I have when I'm eating at Ruffino's is whether or not I'm going with the filet. Fly ball to left. Here's Dugas, and he catches up with it. Ole Miss held off the board. No runs on a couple of hits and 2 stranded. It's a 1-run LSU lead through 2. Ole Miss from
2-hour grocery delivery with Prime.
In one of the series between LSU and Ole Miss from Swayze Field. This is the SEC on ESPN. Big weekend in SEC play. Mississippi State heading to Vandy. Be there tomorrow night. And in action on the SEC network right now, number 11 South Carolina battling number 1 Arkansas. They're tied at 1 in the top of the 7th. Real opportunity for David for South Carolina this weekend with the number 1 ranked team coming to their town.
Yeah, it is. I think South Carolina got a lot of recognition early in the season when they started out very hot. Then they cooled off, and they just kind of went unknown for a little bit. But they still have a very strong team and outstanding pitching staff. 11 of those guys have touched 96 miles an hour in the fall. It's got a very good offense. Very comparable to Arkansas. Good slugging team with solid pitching. It's a great matchup.
Great slugging team. Nobody in the SEC gets a higher percentage of their runs from the long ball than South Carolina, 41%. Arkansas just a tick behind at 39. Here's Gavin Dugas. Looks at a first pitch strike from Derek Diamond. If you joined us late, Ole Miss's ace Gunnar Hoagland was slated to start tonight. He was still a little bit sore from his last outing last week against Mississippi State. And being on short rest with a Thursday night start, they decided not to push it. They will reassess later. And whether or not Hoagland ends up throwing this weekend or takes a weekend off remains to be seen. A little bit of stiffness is how they described it. Dugas 0 for 1 with a pop up to center. Is that a red flag for you as Dugas goes down swinging in regard to Hoagland?
I would be very careful with a young man like that, not only because of what he means to your team and your pitching staff, but also because of his value and what's coming up in a couple months in the amateur Major League Baseball draft. He turned down first-round draft pick to come to Ole Miss, and my goodness, you would hate to lose him to something serious. LSU had something very similar happen with Jaden Hill, their number 2 starter, and Ole Miss definitely does not want to hurt the young man's career or have him miss out any more time. So it's precautionary. Still may see him later on this weekend, possibly, but hopefully it's nothing serious.
Cade Doty reached on an error in the first inning, sends a short fly ball to right field, and that is the most efficient inning so far for Diamond. 6 pitches to get 3 outs. LSU leads Ole Miss 2-1 as we go to the bottom of the 3rd.
From an early age, I felt I was meant for more in this life.
You got from
Welcome to the night again, everybody. Time to play some baseball.
Doesn't get any better than this.
Let's have some fun, everybody.
Wow, great baseball.
when it comes down to 9 innings. You leave it all on the field. You lose, you go home. You win, you go to Omaha.
College World Series returns to Omaha this season. Stands to reason Arkansas might have an inside track. They just took a 3-1 lead on South Carolina. Another home run from Bob Moore. He's done it twice tonight on the road, and let's just say he's enjoyed both of them. Here's Peyton Chatagnier to lead things off for Ole Miss in the 3rd inning. LSU got 2 runs across in the first thanks to 3 Ole Miss errors. A solo home run for Kevin Graham in the first for Ole Miss, and that's where we are. Graham on deck, and then Hayden Dunhurst. Landon Marceau is now LSU's ace. That is a change from earlier in the season when Jaden Hill went down a couple of weeks ago with an elbow injury, going head-to-head in that Vandy series, and it was a lot of hype going into that game and a real opportunity for Hill to show what he could do to the major league, in front of the major league scouts, as he went against Leiter. You could say Marceau and Hill, I guess, were 1A and 1B. But Hill is out now. And it's really a shame, David, because they had done so well to try and protect him and introduce him to the rigors of throwing and being a starter. And there's still a very big upside for Jaden Hill at the next level. But his season as of now has been interrupted, and so that's going to be a roadblock he's got to work through.
Yeah, Tom, that's absolutely correct. And he's still projected to go in the first round, about 25th pick. But you're right. I mean, this is a young man that came out of high school, highly touted. He was a multi-sport athlete, went to LSU, had never been on a throwing program before in his life. He just dominated with natural ability, and LSU immediately put him on a throwing program that was overseen by Coach Alan Dunn and Nolan Kane, and they worked with him to develop arm strength and fundamentals. And he got injured, and they did an outstanding job of taking care of his arm. They would let him throw a bullpen. If he didn't feel right, they'd shut him down. And then as he developed, they would say, okay, Jaden Hill is going to pitch on this day, this number of innings, no matter what. As we see a strikeout right there. Nice job by Marceau, who's also painting the corners with his fastball as well. But they limited him to pitches. They took care of him when he wasn't feeling good. They did every single thing they could to take care of this young man. And unfortunately this year, and the year that was going to be so important to him and to his team, his arm finally went out. And I think the value of what he can do and the projection is so great that a major league team is still going to take him, and they're going to also try to work with his mechanics and his arm strength and make sure he gets to the big leagues pretty soon.
Here's Kevin Graham at the plate. He's already homered tonight. That's a beautiful fastball inside for a strike. How often do you think even elite arms come out of high school? I don't want to say overused, but I think misused is a fair descriptor. If you haven't been given the proper training to be a guy who's going to go out and throw 100 pitches on a Friday night in the SEC?
It's a great question, and I don't know if anyone has the answer for it. And a lot of college coaches are concerned with the number of innings that these youngsters are throwing. And travel ball, man, there's really no arm strengthening programs. You go sometimes in January, and you go to showcases, and you're trying to dial up and blow out the radar guns by throwing 95 and 96 miles an hour. The first time you throw a bullpen in the spring is in front of radar guns, and no one really knows what it's doing to these arms. So a college coach is taking a chance on these young men that are coming out of high school. They don't know how much they've been throwing. They don't know if they're worn out or come in injured on top of it.
Curveball hit Graham in the knee. And he will limp his way down to first. Got him just below the knee.
Yeah, and there's no flesh right there. That is straight bone. And it usually takes a little while before the pain gets to your brain. Right now, Kevin Graham's on the ground at that moment thinking, uh-oh, it's coming, it's coming. And as he goes to first base, it sets in, and very difficult to put weight on that leg. Kevin Graham hit a home run his first at bat. There is no way that was intentional right there. That was a breaking pitch that Marceau threw a little too inside, didn't have enough break on it.
Mike Bianco out there as well, along with the athletic trainer. But the answer that they want, one on and one out. With Dunhurst coming up. It's really a shame overall, the injury to Hill and the impact, of course, it has on this LSU program that is incredibly young. And we talked to Paul about the role the freshmen play. It's a team that over the years, as we mentioned, a program that has turned things up in the second half of conference play and gone on incredible runs. But Paul mentioned, you asked him, David, well, how does the impact of the freshmen impact the locker room? And how do you kind of mold the two together? The guys who've been around and the guys who are relatively new. And Paul said, I don't have an answer for that. I'm not in the clubhouse. And by the way, there's a lot of limitations these days in regard to COVID protocol, but that can be tough to get everybody on the same page when the youngsters are the ones that are producing and hitting up in the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. LSU's a school with a lot of tradition and a lot of pride, and it's passed on by the upperclassmen, and the upperclassmen are the leaders. And if you're not performing on the field as an upperclassman, it's hard for you to lead. It's hard for you to go out and talk to the team and encourage them to do things, because the question will always come back to you, well, what are you doing on the field? Mm-hmm. And right now it's a group of freshmen that are absolutely playing fantastic baseball, and the upperclassmen that have not been playing well have been a little more quiet than normal in the past. And we talked about it early in the game.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job of illustrating it, and you can see this in what I'm about to say when you picture LSU baseball. And he said, we've always had great leadership. The torch always gets passed. It gets passed down from one class to another, and teams have had their own identities based on those juniors and seniors. In for a strike to Dunhurst, full count now. He said, we lost some of our leadership. Zach Mathis signed, so Garza was also undrafted free agent that signed. They would be seniors. Cole Henry was a draft-eligible sophomore who didn't throw a lot in his LSU career due to injuries. And they started the season, 7 of their 9 everyday players had 0 SEC experience. Flip to center field. DeGiacomo has it. He's back in the lineup, DeGiacomo, and one of those guys who can bring some leadership to this team. What impact do you think it has on youngsters, not just freshmen, but the freshman class from last year that didn't play a single SEC game?
It's huge, because the upperclassmen have been there and done that, and most of these guys are used to playing postseason baseball. So these young guys, although they're playing great, they're about to experience travel and crowds and situations that they never have in their life. Never before have some of these guys failed at the high school level. And you need a Beloso and a Giovanni DiGiacomo to grab you around the shoulders and say, hey, this is what you need to do, especially as they're trying to make their way to the SEC tournament. These guys are going to need encouragement. They're going to need tips on routines and fundamentals, and that's what the older guys can give.
No balls and a strike to Bench, and he pulls it to short, backhanded Thompson drops it. Everybody's safe. 2 on now with 2 out. Talk about leadership. The shortstop position at LSU has always been one of leadership. And LSU, since it last played in the College World Series in 2017, they lost to Florida in the championship game. They are under 500 in SEC play. They're now 36-38 since their last Omaha appearance. Here's T.J. McCants, who singled his first time up. .340 with 3 home runs. An error by Jordan Thompson, his 6th of the season. First of the game for LSU. Marceau's glove side fastball to lefties has been fantastic.
That's the 2-seamer right there. That's the one that's got run to it. He's going to start it. It looks like it's going to come right at you if you're the left-handed hitter. And if it starts at your right hip, it's going to break or sink right over the inside corner of that plate for a strike.
And he partners that with the curveball for a strikeout. 3rd K for Landon Marceau. Looking pretty good.
Looking outstanding, controlling the inside part of the plate with the fastball, and then he goes right back with a devastating curveball down in the zone. Marceau is showing why he's a true ace in the SEC.
Grilled Whopper.
Major choice.
Oxford. Jimmy Duck Holmes is going to be playing in an alley. I mean, it's my kind of jam. I think Kiffin might be wearing a baseball jersey somewhere. Here's Cade Beloso to lead off for LSU. First pitch from Derek Diamond misses away, 1-0.
So you got to figure you've got good old North Mississippi barbecue going on in the terrace up there. And then in the parking lot, I'm sure you've got the LSU fans frying fish. Maybe got some crawfish etouffee. So you've got some cayenne in some parts of that stadium, and you've got some barbecue sauce in other parts. Be a great weekend to get you some good groceries in Oxford.
Oh, you reminded me of City Grocery the way you said that. Here's the 2-0 to Beloso. Or Taylor Grocery or any grocery in foul territory at the tarp. Great play by Justin Bench, and there's one down.
Now that's a good play. Justin Bench did not play in the midweek game to rest the sore back right there, but shows no issues whatsoever as he was trying to dodge that tarp and continue to concentrate on that ball. Nicely done.
That'll bring the shortstop, Jordan Thompson, to the plate. I mentioned the article that was in Baton Rouge Advocate about Thompson and his upbringing in Southern California around San Diego by Wilson Alexander. It's really amazing. You want to know how important LSU baseball is? Look at the success rate, not just of their players, but the beat writers. They got guys covering college football for Sports Illustrated. Chandler Rome now covers the Dodgers. Luke Johnson covers the Saints. Kenny Landry covers the Dodgers. Rowan Kavner, the Dodgers. David Hellman covers the Cowboys. Ross Dellinger is one of the big writers at Sports Illustrated. I mean, you cover LSU baseball, you're covering a big-time program, and you have an opportunity then as a writer even to ride that wave to bigger and better.
Well, look at what we have in our lineup. We've got Ben McDonald and Todd Walker, 2 former LSU guys. Jacob Hester's having a great career in broadcasting, so not only in the print, but also the TV and radio as well. They're well represented.
No doubt about it. Thompson had an RBI single his first time up. Here's the 1-2. Waited for it and sends it to center. Can of corn for T.J. McCants. 2 down. And that'll bring Giovanni DiGiacomo to the plate. What level of importance does DiGiacomo play to this, not just the LSU batting order, but the team as a whole?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And not only, as you said, not only does he bring it on the field, but he's a fantastic leader in the clubhouse. He mans a fabulous center field. He can cover some serious ground, and that speed in the top of the order, it's hard to replace when he was injured. And this is a young man that had an infield single the other day against Monroe, that if the ball hops 3 times in the infield, there's no way you're going to throw him out. So you need that speed on the base, and you need the leadership as well. And the hairdo is big league as well. So you always love to see him at the plate flashing that hair out the back of the helmet.
Oh, that is Major League salad right there. 29th round pick of the Pirates in 2018, coming out of Canterbury High School in Naples, Florida. Oh, 2 to DiGiacomo. Stays alive. Made it almost to the suites, and that a young fan is going to take home a souvenir. Hey, and you're going to get on TV too. Well, that's a good trip to the park. Fouled off the breaking ball. Derek Diamond threw 25 pitches in the first inning. He totaled 23 over the next 2, and he was able to keep his composure after the defense kicked it around 3 times in the first frame. Emergency starter after Gunnar Hoagland came up a little bit tight this afternoon.
Boy, he really has been outstanding tonight. The command of all of his pitches, the fastball, curveball, and right there was a changeup. And totally different pitcher tonight than he has been in the last couple outings. You have to wonder if Coach Bianco's sitting there thinking, well, maybe I'll just surprise him with a start every Sunday from here on out.
How about this at bat? That is 6 pitches to DiGiacomo and 6 foul balls.
But he's seen everything that Diamond can throw. And the more pitches he sees and fouls off, the more the advantage goes to the batter.
62nd pitch of the game from Diamond. I mean, you watch baseball, you see something every night that you've never seen before.
I mean, at some point you think Derek Diamond should throw a waste pitch right here, throw it about chest high, just blaze that fastball, just see if he can get a swing and miss.
This is getting ridiculous. He has fouled off every pitch that's been thrown to him this at bat. 8 of them. DiGiacomo's seen 9 pitches tonight. He has swung at every single one of them. That includes his first at bat of the game. Foul territory for Bench. And it's a 1-2-3 frame, 3 pop-ups. Derek Diamond has settled down. Now he's looking for some offense. Home team trailing by 1 as we hit the bottom of the 4th.
From your
You currently
get 5G coverage that goes yard. T-Mobile, the leader in 5G.
LSU leads Ole Miss 2-1. This could be a big series for LSU, currently not projected to be in the postseason, according to our friends at D1Baseball.com. Time out with David DeLucci. David, when you look at this list, what stands out to you?
There's a very good group of teams right there, and any one of those teams can get hot at the end of the season and make it to the College World Series. I think you could very easily predict that Arkansas, Vanderbilt are two of the best teams in the nation, and there may be 5 teams that show up in Omaha when this thing is all said and done. But, it's all going to depend, like you said about LSU, who's going to catch fire, who's going to stay healthy, who's going to go into that SEC tournament firing on all cylinders. Typically the team that gets hot at the right time wins it all, not necessarily the best team.
This is Hayden Leatherwood leading off the 4th inning for Ole Miss, down 1. Regional sites will be announced May 10th. That is a departure from the norm. Usually announced right before the selection field is announced as well. And the host sites will remain the same through the first 2 weekends due to COVID protocols. That's why they're announcing them so early, so they can get all the testing that's necessary set up at the local sites. It's going to lead to some odd setups. And very easily the second weekend have 2 teams playing, or at the end of the first weekend, I suppose, but you have 2 teams playing on a neutral site and no home team. Two to Leatherwood. And Leatherwood touches this one deep center field. It is gone. Cue the showers. All the cups are empty now. 6th home run of the season for Leatherwood.
Well, it's funny, Tom, coming into this game, we talked about Ole Miss is leading the SEC in RBIs and runs scored, but not in home runs. But yet tonight, Kevin Graham and Hayden Leatherwood said, boys, we can slug with the best of them out there. That was hit to the biggest part of the ballpark right there. Nice job. Looked like he was on his front foot a little bit, but he had enough momentum behind that swing to hit it out of the ballpark. One of the rare misses by Landon Marceau ends up over the fence.
So here's what stands out about Ole Miss's run production. They score runs, they can hit, they can get on the base. They don't score via the home run much. Only 24% of their runs have scored via the home run. That is dead last in the SEC and well below the conference average. How does that hit you? Like, what do you think when you see that stat in relation to a team that's a top 12 team?
It's playing good old-fashioned baseball is what it is. And it's hard to believe when you see that. And I think we were both kind of taken back when we were looking at the stats and talking to Coach Bianco a little bit, because you think that would be Arkansas. You think Arkansas is going to lead in every offensive category because they can hit home runs better than anybody else. But when you look at it, you go, okay, if Ole Miss gets a guy in scoring position, there is a high probability they're going to get them across home plate. If they get a runner on third base with less than 2 outs, they're going to sacrifice fly. They're going to do whatever they can to score that run. And they're finding ways to get runners across home plate other than hitting the long ball. And those are the teams that stay hot. There's no big slumps when you play small ball.
I got a counter to that. As Calvin Harris digs in, he's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. And to your point, and statistically, Ole Miss is 3rd in the SEC, hitting .314 with runners in scoring position. So they've gone away from their norm tonight. 100% of the runs have come via the long ball. But if you don't have in this day and age, playing devil's advocate, guys that are threats with the bat in their hand, it makes it a little bit easier to maneuver the lineup. If there is no fear in the batting order, you don't have that with what Ole Miss puts out there on a nightly basis. What you have is a lot of this, an opposite field single for Calvin Harris. Now, I guess the way I look at it as a whole, David, is that Ole Miss might lose some slugfests throughout the course of the season and in the regular season, but when they get to the most important part of the year, Hoover and Omaha, They will be playing in big ballparks where the long ball is diminished, and that is a great sign.
Certainly is, and it's outstanding points. And unfortunately for Ole Miss, their big bopper, Tim Elko, who's having a tremendous year this year, is out with a serious knee injury and may not get to see him for the rest of the year. Now, he's day-to-day, and it depends on pain tolerance, and they've developed a knee brace for him to wear. He blew his knee out in a midweek game. But that was the power production that this Ole Miss Rebel offense was depending on. And without him, you're right, there is no guy in that lineup that you circle around and say, we can't let this guy beat us with the long ball.
Just as point of reference, within the league, South Carolina leads the league in percentage of runs via the home run at 41%. Arkansas is second at 39%. Ole Miss is tied with Missouri for last in the league at 24%. Jacob Gonzalez 0 for 2, ground out and a fly out to his name today. So Tim Elko now with a clipboard in hand with a really fancy drawing on it. The Wolfpack, that wolf's got red eyes. That's the kind you don't want to see, Dave.
I wonder if that's, remember the old wrestlers, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, is that the NWO Wolfpack?
Could be. The Wolfpack hitting system, right? As you look at Elko's particulars, you could be a ball player, a runner, a hitter, a bomber. There's your Wolfpack. Elko was a bomber. One of the best home run hitters in the country when he went down.
Yes, indeed. And he's a team leader. And that guy right there has really been very special to that program. And he is leading the way, even though he's not on the field.
For the 42nd straight year, the NFL Draft is on ESPN. It's also on the NFL Network, and the Game Day crew will be on ABC again this year, covering it from the college perspective. It all comes to you next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, with all 3 days on ESPN Deportes, ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app. Here's Alan Dunn out to chat with Landon Marceau. Allowed a solo home run to open the frame. Then after a ground out, Calvin Harris went the opposite way with a single. And he just caught Jacob Gonzalez's jersey. 70 pitch night so far. And the heart of the order due up with Chatinier, the two-hole hitter, coming to the plate. Chatinier with a ground out and a strikeout. Marceau's been surrounded, kind of like walking from the front of the library all the way to the back. There's been people around him all night. He's had base runners in the first, second, third, and of course here in the fourth with 2 on and 1 out. On the flip side, Derek Diamond, after that rough first inning, has retired the side in order in each of the last 3 frames. Oh, 1 to Chatinier coming. Tied him up, 0-2.
Well, I think you could easily say it, if it wasn't for DiGiacomo, Derek Diamond's pitch count would be way lower than what it is right now. But he's done a fantastic job of really pounding the strike zone. Marceau as well. It was 2 pitches that Ole Miss got a hold of and hit out of the ballpark. And the last pitch was actually a very good pitch that Leatherwood kind of hit out on his front foot.
Nothing to Chatinier. Harris leading off second into right field. Cruz makes the catch. Tagging headed to third is Harris. And the Rebels have runners at the corners with 2 down. They're in the 8th in Columbia. Arkansas now leads South Carolina 5-1. What a year it's been for Dave Van Horn's team. They hold on for this one. It'll be their 31st win of the year. Graham got the scoring started for Ole Miss with an opposite field home run in the first. And he was hit by a pitch when he came to the plate in the third. Junior from O'Fallon, Missouri, St. Louis suburb. What do you think when you see his stance?
You know, when you first look at it, it looks awfully stiff, and that bat kind of points a little forward. Spread out. I like the fact that he's spread out. That's where a lot of players land when they stride. That's where they land. So he's in a power position. He's not going to go any further out than that. But as the pitch is released, you can see where everything just relaxes. Keeps his front shoulder in nicely. He's able to hit the ball to the other way with authority, just like he can pull it. But when you take that long stride out and you put that weight on that back leg, as you can see that knee is bent a little bit, he's got a lot of momentum behind him. So he'll be able to catch up to the fastball because he's on time, but he's got enough weight behind him to wait on the breaking pitch.
You mentioned the bat kind of pointing forward a little bit. What's that a sign of?
Everybody's different. I mean, I played with Craig Counsell when I was with the Diamondbacks. It looked like his bat was made of helium. It kept rising and rising. It doesn't matter where it starts. And Graham's points forward a little bit. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kevin Millar, Gary Sheffield. But it goes right back to where it needs to at the right time. As you can see, that barrel just kind of lays back and relaxes. As long as you're in that power position on time for the hardest fastball that Marceau can throw, and you keep your hands back for the slowest off-speed pitch that he can offer, you'll be able to hit any pitches he throws in any count.
Might be the pitch of the game, tied in the 4th. Here's the 3-2 to Graham, and he caught just a piece of it. Runners at the corners. Harris at third after his opposite field single, and Jacob Gonzalez was hit by a pitch at the top of the order. Kevin Graham in the 3-hole, one of the best hitters and one of the best teams in the league with runners in scoring position. Swing and a miss, and Marceau gets a huge K to strand a pair. 7 left on base for Ole Miss through the first 4 innings. And game 1 of the series, we're tied at 2 midway through.
Or without, just give me.
There's a guy who can play a little football. John Rice Plumlee not playing in the Grove Bowl this weekend. Just focusing on baseball. Jamar Chase, LSU wide receiver. He is projected to go to the Bengals, where he would hook up with Joe Burrow. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Tell you what, I think I could make some completions if I had those receivers playing for me.
You think? Yeah. Here's Drew Bianco to lead off the 5th. He's back home at Oxford. And that Oxford high school team that he was a part of was not only a dominating team, but loaded with talent that infiltrated the SEC, and some of it has already moved on to the next level. Bianco struck out on a 93-mile-an-hour fastball his first time up. This time he spoils a breaking ball, 0-2. Drew, one of 4 boys, got a sister. 4-time All-State and a pair of state championships at Oxford High School. Pops this one up. The Chatinier, 1 down. I mean, look at that talent. Thomas Dillard in a Brewers organization. Greg Kessinger. We'll talk more Kessinger later tonight. Drafted by the Astros that same year, and so was Houston Roth to the Orioles.
Yeah, those bottom 3 were part of that Ole Miss recruiting class that was ranked #1 in the nation. Some really, really good players right there. Oxford High has developed some serious talent.
Here's Alex Milazzo, looks at a strike, 0-1. What impact do you think it has on players that are obviously elite talent? If you come to the SEC and then go on to pro ball, you're obviously among the best in what you do. Playing with other great players. So not just being the best player on a team of a bunch of guys that are your friends, but guys who have like-minded goals and ability.
It most definitely brings the best out of you. And you know, that was one of the things that I loved when I went from high school to college. You went on a roster where every single one of those guys wanted to be on that field and better their game. And some of them wasn't out there because mom or dad wanted them to play, and some of them weren't out there because big brother was on that high school team. These guys were out there to get better, and the practices elevated because the talent was there. And as you move up, the talent evens out across the board, and typically the guys that continue their careers are the guys that want it more and are motivated and determined to practice more and do the things that you need to do. And you look around the SEC, and all of these young men are pro prospects. So you can't help but better your game when you're playing these guys or against these guys week in and week out.
2-2 to Milazzo, and Diamond missed with consecutive pitches. I wonder if he's getting a little fatigued at this point.
He could very well be. He's got his pitch count up to 72 miles an hour, and we've seen him have outstanding control early in the ball game, especially with that fastball right there, and that one just totally missed his spot by Hayden Dunhurst. There's not any movement right now in that bullpen, but at 72 pitches, well, there you go right there. Coach Bianco's thinking the same thing we are. 72 pitches in the top of the 5th inning. With a game tied up, you've got to start getting some guys hot.
Top of the order, Trey Morgan is 0 for 2. Misses on the off-speed pitch. Diamond threw 105 pitches back on March 27th at Alabama. That was the 6th start of the season. He had been in the rotation to start the year, only moved to the bullpen after a bad outing against Arkansas and Florida in consecutive weekends. So go back a week ago, the Mississippi State series was the first time throwing in relief. 12 pitches against State, 15 in the midweek win against Little Rock. Ball in his strike to Morgan. Went off speed again. Fly ball shallow center field. McCann's coming on hard, and Chatinier can't get to it. A little flare off of Morgan's bat, drops in. 2 on with 1 out for LSU. And now their best hitter coming up.
Yeah, Trey Morgan does a fantastic job of keeping his bat through the zone. That was an off-speed pitch that he was out front on, but because his bat path was so flat, he could stay through that zone and get just enough of that ball to get it past the diving Chatinier.
And with Cruz drew up, Mike Bianco's going to come out and have a word as that bullpen started to scramble into action.
Well, ideally, Coach Bianco was hoping that Derek Diamond could get him deeper in that ball game and save the bullpen. Ole Miss has had some issues during the course of the season bridging that gap from the starter to Taylor Broadway, the closer. But I would have to believe he's got to be very happy with what he's seen from this young man so far.
Dylan Cruz 1 for 2. Cruz singled and scored in the first, popped up to center his second time up. Got Milazzo at second and Morgan at first. Well, since Diamond hit Milazzo with the pitch, he's really leaned on the off-speed stuff. Looked like a changeup a couple times and a couple curveballs in there. Fastball popped up on the right side. Baker in foul territory. 2 down.
And Tom, that's just an outstanding sequence of pitches by Diamond. Dylan Cruz has some crazy power in that bat. He hits fastballs really well, but Diamond was able to get ahead in the count with the breaking pitches and then finish him off with 2 strikes with a fastball about knee high. And because of that, because it was a fastball in a pitcher's count, Dylan Cruz was way late on that ball, and he couldn't hit it past the first baseman.
So here's Gavin Dugas, 0 for 2 with a pop-up and a strikeout in this game. And a ground ball to short. Missed opportunity for LSU. A Tigers team that is under 500 in one-run games, and they strand a pair in the 5th. Tigers and Rebels tied at 2. Cubs, and that's a Cubs leadoff man, Don Kessinger. He went 3 for 5 in this day. He was hitting .296 at the end of the day. What a fantastic career he had, both at the major league level and at Ole Miss. And tonight, Ole Miss retired his number 11, the number he wore as he earned 6 All-Star, 2 Gold Glove selections as shortstop for the Cubs. And the display pregame unveiled as he was on the field with his sons Keith and Kevin. And what a fantastic honor for Don Kessinger, a guy that you got to know really well. You hang out with Kermit Davis in the booth. I mean, that's a big day at the ballpark right now. Ole Miss head coach in the early 90s, and David, you spent some time with him when the guy could still swing the bat even at a higher age than you guys were as college players.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget, he was an outstanding All-American basketball player, too, so they could be sharing some basketball talk as well right there. But Coach Kessinger was my coach while I was at Ole Miss, and in the inter-squad games, not only was he a great human being and a father figure and mentor to us, but he would man the shortstop position and play against us in inter-squad game. He's a switch hitter that he was 53 years old when he was out there. A little light hitting, not much power in his bat, and we would dog him for it every time he would go up there and try to slap a ball through the infield. But He was doing Derek Jeter backhands way before Derek Jeter made it to the big leagues. Just a super person. And that woman right there to his right, Carolyn Kessinger, has been his rock. He will tell you that he would not be the man or the former player that he was without her. Just an incredible family. That is the Mannings of baseball right there. That is the Kessinger family. That means everything to Ole Miss.
The first family, Keith and Kevin, and, of course, Greg continuing it just a couple years ago at shortstop for Ole Miss. When did you first meet him? How old were you, and when did you guys first talk?
I was 17 when I stepped on campus at Ole Miss. I was young for my grade, and I met him on a recruiting visit when I went to Ole Miss. LSU was in town to play the Rebels, and I wanted to play football and baseball in college. I had several scholarships to do both, and I loved football. And I remember sitting in the office, first time I had ever seen him or spoken to him face to face, and he said, you could be a good football player and a good baseball player, or you can concentrate on baseball and be a great baseball player. And I sat there and thought to myself, said, this guy has been in the major leagues, all-star, you name it, was a manager, player manager, and he's telling me I can be a great baseball player? I need to seriously consider this one sport thing. And it was the best decision I made.
Here's T.J. McCants, the tie game in the 5th with a run on and 1 out. What did you learn from him?
I learned how to play the game the right way. He coached at the college level the same way he managed at the major league level. So there was a lot of freedom for the players to go out there and play their own game, play the right way. He expected you to respect the game and each other and be a man. And his door was always open for us. And there were many times we would come off the road trip or come back from sitting at a bonfire on Lake Sardis with the team and go, you know what, let's go to DK's house and let's talk to him about this. And Carolyn would be sitting there with him, and for a college-age athlete at 20 years old, maybe sitting in the coach's living room at 12 o'clock midnight's not that big of a deal, but I'm sure for them they wanted to go to bed instead of listen to what we had to say. But the door was always open, and he's a phenomenal human being. Not only was he a great athlete, but just the kindest, most loving person to his family and to his friends and former team that he had throughout the years.
78 years young. Yeah, I can imagine that conversation now. Honey, let's go to bed so these nice players can go home.
Oh, he was great. He was super. But I calculated he was about 53 years old when he was manning shortstop against a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and he was hanging with us. He could still fly.
Oh, I believe it. McCants goes down swinging. I mean, you guys talk trash to your coach when you're out there watching him swing a wet paper?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we let him hear it. Like the scouting report was to move the outfield in. I mean, he was a slapper. He had a few home runs behind his belt, but he's using a wooden bat while we're using aluminum bats, and we knew what he was going to do. He's going to try to shoot the hole and leg it out or drop a bunt down. And after about 4 or 5 at-bats like that, we talk about the shift. We would shift way in is what we would do. But it was awesome to see him out there picking balls and playing with the youngsters, just like his big league days.
Hey, he was influential beyond just the guys that played for him and with him. When John Grisham was writing Calico Joe, it was a book about a fictional young player in the Cubs in the early 70s. Who did he lean on for memories and for anecdotes? Don Kessinger. Longtime friends. Hayden Leatherwood homered last time up. He was 1 for 2 in this game. He's got 6 home runs in the season, 5 of them in conference play. Off the handle. Thompson gets it there in time. Go figure. The inning ends on a play by the shortstop as they honor Don Kessinger and retire his number 11. 5 innings in the book, nothing decided. LSU and Ole Miss tied at 2. 2-2 game, top of the 6th. Doty, Beloso, and Thompson due up for LSU in the 6th inning. Derek Diamond still going strong for Ole Miss. We talked with Mike Bianco about this series yesterday and the role Diamond could play not just for Ole Miss this series but also the rest of the season. And David, he figured to fill a very important role, and that was getting the ball from, say, Gunnar Hoagland to Broadway and the back end of the bullpen, because that is a piece that's been missing for Ole Miss. And he may still be that before the season is done. Oh, that one got interesting. Gonzalez finds it. One down with Cade Beloso coming up. It still remains to be seen how they work on all that. Meanwhile, this week's Sunday Night Baseball game is a series finale between the rival Padres and Dodgers at Chavez Ravine. They just met last week at Petco, and the Dodgers took 2 of 3. The best record in baseball belongs to Los Angeles. Our coverage begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app with Baseball Tonight's Sunday Night Countdown. One and 0 to Beloso, who is 0 for 2 in this game. So Mike Bianco now has his hands tied in regard to that bullpen because he's forced to use Diamond here, game number 1, as a starter. But did you have a feeling that Diamond could have filled that role that is so desperately needed?
I actually thought when Coach Bianco told us that it was the perfect role for Derek Diamond, because coming in to bridge that gap, whether you call it the setup man or short reliever out of the bullpen, allowed him, or was going to allow him, to throw that fastball that we know can get in the 96, 97 mile an hour range. It was going to let him come out of that bullpen and just let it go for one inning or a couple outs. And then I guess he's still being the caddy for Gunnar Hoagland even tonight, right? Gunnar Hoagland couldn't start the game, but Derek Diamond went in there to fill his spot. So I think it's a great opportunity now because you have the option. If someone steps up and claims that into the bullpen role, then Derek Diamond can go back to your Sunday starter if you need him. This is outstanding. This is a confidence builder for him. You can see right there he's a totally different demeanor than we saw the last 3 outings that he had.
And this is big here in the 6th. It seemed with a couple of pitches to Milazzo in the 5th like he had lost the strike zone. Hoagland out due to stiffness, at least for this game and maybe the weekend. That remains to be seen. Guy is second in the nation in strikeouts and leading the league in innings pitched. He has taken the ball every weekend for Ole Miss. Jordan Thompson at the plate, freshman shortstop. Off speed stays up, 1-0 to Thompson, who's got an RBI single back in the 1st.
Well, Ole Miss is going to have Gunnar Hoagland for that stretch run. I mean, could you imagine? They've lost their big bopper, Tim Elko, in the lineup.
Park will hold this one. It's another 1-2-3 frame. He's only needed 9 pitches that time. He's only faced 2 over the minimum since the 2nd. Still tied at 2. Through the college baseball showdown to start the season. A lot of folks are still paying attention to college basketball. Then they won their first 2 SEC series. This was a team on a roll. And with record crowds in town, they lost 3 straight SEC series for the first time since 2013, including that series against Arkansas. Now this is a big one with LSU coming to town, but they lost to Florida, Arkansas, and Mississippi State. They weren't swept in any of those, David, but it's either win or lose a series. What do you make of where Ole Miss is right now?
Well, I think obviously they would want to be leading the SEC West. I mean, that's what you go out there and put the uniform on is to win the regular season title. But where they are today, it may not be a bad position because you don't want to peak at the halfway point. You want to catch fire. You want to get on a roll toward the end of the season. You want to go into the SEC tournament. And as they are right now with the record of 9-6, they look very good to make it into that SEC tournament. So as long as they can continue to play, as long as they can stay healthy, that is the key. Go into that tournament on a hot streak. They're an Omaha caliber team.
How about the movement on that hit by Cale Baker? Kind of came off the end of the bat with some English and bends its way into center field.
Well, the big fella right here has got some pop in the bat, but he does a great job of staying right up the middle. It's the biggest hole on the field. And Cale Baker, for the last couple days, has really been shooting balls right up the middle. It's an excellent job of hitting and a great approach against a solid pitcher like Landon Morceau that's going to try to throw that off-speed pitch on the outside corner.
Here's Calvin Harris at the plate. He's 1 for 2. That was like a pro golfer bending it around a tree. Watch this 2-iron. Whoop. It started on the right side of the bag at second. It ended on the left side. Walk me through the physics of that. How does that happen?
I skipped that class when I was supposed to take.
Yeah, but you took plenty of hitting classes.
I did. That's a great job of staying inside of that ball right there. Now, when you hit it on the cap, crazy things happen, man. That's when we see those Q spin balls that start out fair and will spin their way foul. That's a capper, and it's difficult to judge where that ball is going to go and how you're going to catch it. You think if that was nasty, when it hits that ground and there's some moisture in it like there is this evening in Oxford, it's even more difficult to pick up.
Harris had a clean single to left last time up. He was 1 for 2 tonight. Well hit, deep left center, and Giacomo's going to come around on this one and handle it. 1 down.
You can see right there, totally different conditions tonight than what Ole Miss saw in the midweek game against Arkansas State. There was a nice wind blowing out to right field tonight. It is dead calm. And as that cool air of the night settles down in Oxford, it takes an absolute blast to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Oh, like this one? It is gone if it's fair. It is. That's a blast. He kept it low and rocketed it out. Gonzalez with a 2-run shot. Ole Miss has the lead.
This ball is annihilated. It is a hanging slider on the inner half of that plate, and it broke directly into the swing path of Jacob Gonzalez, a young man that's swinging the bat with a lot of confidence and showing more and more power as he gets collegiate at bats under his belt. He does not miss that pitch, and he puts the Rebels up by 2.
Bring Peyton Chatnier to the plate. Home run number 5 in the season for Gonzalez. That'll do it for Marceau. LSU will go to the pen after a 99 pitch outing. And of the 99 pitches, 3 big problems for Marceau. 3 home runs, Graham, Leatherwood, and then Gonzalez. Here's Garrett Edwards making his 15th appearance of the season for LSU. Enters the game with a 2-run deficit in the 6th. In 20 innings, he has struck out 22 and walked only 7.
The former All-State basketball player, he's got a great downward angle on his fastball, and he's going to need to throw that ball down around the knee high because the Ole Miss Rebels are hitting the long ball tonight. But he's got a 3-pitch mix. He does a good job of commanding all his pitches, and at times his changeups can have swing and miss action. So hopefully for the LSU Tigers, he'll be able to locate that changeup, mix his speeds up, because Ole Miss, for a team that doesn't hit very many home runs tonight, that's how they're scoring all their runs.
Landon Marceau in danger of falling to 500 on this season. He's the pitcher of record for LSU. Came in at 4-3. And Edwards will take over for him. You mentioned Edwards was a pretty good basketball player. This dude could fill it up. He scored over 4,000 points in his career. That's a top 30 career in the country. Swing and a miss. Over the last 3 years, last 3 years, he averaged 29 points a game. He had a 57-point game, a 63-point game. Nothing in 2 to Chatnier, who is hitless tonight.
I mean, do you think we're seeing a young Ben McDonald right here? I mean, Ben McDonald, Golden Spikes pitcher, also played basketball for LSU.
That's right. And a big LSU win at Rupp. No, Edwards is not Ben McDonald-like because his hair is longer today than Ben's has ever been his entire life. Ben put up a picture from Baltimore the other day next to a broom. He was holding a broom up as the Orioles were going for a sweep. And I couldn't tell which of the two was the hair and which was the broom. They were both perfectly even.
I don't think his hair grows. Either it doesn't grow or he cuts it every single day.
Chatnier sends a dribbler to the left side. Charging is Thompson. Throws on the run. Fine play. 2 down. Ben's on the call tonight. Arkansas leading South Carolina 6-1. They're in the bottom of the 9th. He's with Dave Neal doing that game over on SEC Network. Graham homered his first time up. To third. Doty, long throw, threw it high. Error number 5 of the season for Cade Doty.
This right here, Cade Doty feels this ball backhanded toward the third base dugout and lets another ball fly off target. Both teams, the left side of that defense tonight, have been shaky, and that's a reason for the youngsters watching this ball game. You run out every single ball as hard as you can because you never know if that throw is going to be on target or not.
Hayden Dunhurst is 0 for 2 with a walk in this one. Had an 8-pitch at bat his first time up. Actually talking to Paul Maneri about Trey Morgan over at first. He said, you know, our defense was so erratic early on that he brought incredible value to us because of his athleticism at the bag, saving so many runs. So many miscues that otherwise would be errors. Did you see the Oakland A's won last night on a pair of errors in the bottom of the 9th inning?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fastball low, 2-1. That one went right through the wickets and bounces around behind the plate. Graham will jog to second on the wild pitch.
Well, that's a tough ball right there for Milazzo to try to get in front of. I think he knew, based on the angle.
Intentionally walk, sorry. They're going to put Dunhurst on.
Based on the angle, he knew that ball was going to eat him up, and he tried his hardest to get his body in front of it, and the ball just kind of skipped under him. And because of that, because there was a base open, that smart move was to put the hot-hitting Hayden Dunhurst on base.
So they got to force it any base with Justin Bench at the plate. He's 1 for 3 in this game. Off speed in for a strike. I've got 2 TVs. I actually have 3 TVs going on right now, but I'm watching Walker Buehler pitch against the Padres, and I see the same delivery from Buehler as I see from Edwards. Then again, Buehler's painting 96 over the inside corner, so the ways to go. But that over-the-top delivery, another one in the dirt, another extra 90. Now the throw to the second runner, and that'll end the inning. And Dunhurst runs into an out at second base, but not before Jacob Gonzalez with a 2-run home run. Ole Miss has its first lead of the game as we hit the late innings.
Ordering
terrible RPI due to some head-scratching losses in the non-conference and the limited non-conference play in the ACC. They had a chance to play Pittsburgh this weekend, and Pittsburgh is playing for the opportunity to host, but due to contact tracing in the Pittsburgh program, the series is off. And so Louisville misses a chance to help the RPI. Pittsburgh misses an opportunity to bolster their resume, especially as it pertains to the opportunity to host. Elsewhere, another big series this weekend, top 5 matchup, Mississippi State at Vanderbilt. Here's Giovanni DiGiacomo. Part of that, David, is the fact that they're announcing the host site so early on May 10th, which is, 2-3 weeks earlier than they normally would. And so those with hay in the barn early will certainly get the benefit of it. But as it pertains to Pittsburgh, the NCAA selection committee has long looked for host sites that have not hosted in the past. So if they're looking for data points and they want to reward programs that deserve it, but at the same time, a Pittsburgh team that, to the best of my knowledge, has never hosted will have a chance to host. If they are neck and neck with a team that's hosted before, they're going to lean that direction, and now the Panthers missed that chance.
Yep, that is very unfortunate for them and their fan base and the team that has competed so hard to miss out on that opportunity.
Attorney Selection Show Monday, May 31st, Memorial Day weekend. Giacomo fouls it off. The reliance on RPI over the years has been something that we just kind of have gotten used to based on strength of schedule and non-conference schedules and your own conference's strength. But this year it's going to be really tested. The Fairfield Stags have one of the best RPIs in the country. They haven't played a single non-conference game, and they won't. Meanwhile, Louisville leads the Atlantic. They have an RPI, I believe, in the 50s. It'll be tough for them to get into the 30s before all is said and done. And Pitt is second in the Coastal, currently a game behind Virginia Tech. DiGiacomo sends it into the left field corner. That is a fair ball. It'll rattle around before it's backhanded by Graham, and DiGiacomo stands up at second with a leadoff double. How do you think the selection committee, as LSU will now bring the tying run to the plate, will deal with so many schedule inefficiencies? It's really hard to compare one to another, especially those conferences that have limited or no non-conference opponents.
Yeah, I think this is the year where you're going to have to just sit back and go, you know what, some mistakes are going to be made, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, at least we're playing baseball and we're going to have postseason, and I think that's the most important way to look at it. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how you can judge a team that doesn't play or a school that doesn't play out of conference compared to another school that plays 56 games in non-conference and conference schedule. It's weird. I told you I didn't pay attention in physics class, and I darn sure didn't do a whole lot of math either to figure that out. But at least we're playing baseball and planning on a postseason.
We're going to hand it off to Taylor Broadway in the 7th. What a performance by Derek Diamond. Emergency starting assignment for Diamond after pitching out of the bullpen. He went 95. And hasn't allowed an earned run yet. We'll tell you about the Ole Miss bullpen and put a cap on Diamond's night after this. Ole Miss leading 4-2, try to hold on to this lead in the 7th.
Major.
Father,
And 8 close.
I make one thing.
And he'll come out of the bullpen in the 7th inning of game number 1 against LSU to try to nail this thing down. 3-0 with a 2.78. 32 strikeouts against only 4 walks on the season.
Well, talking to Coach Bianco, Tom, you and I were listening to him, and he said maybe the goal for Derek Diamond is to be the setup man for Taylor Broadway. Well, he's the setup man tonight for Taylor Broadway. He just started the ball game. He did an outstanding job to pass the ball off to the SEC leader in saves and appearances. Taylor Broadway is fantastic, and the beauty about having this guy in the bullpen is that he can come in and he can get you saves by going more than 1 inning, and he's going to have to get 9 outs tonight, and he does so with fantastic command. He's got a fastball that he can run up there 96 miles an hour. He's got 4 pitches. The changeup is equally as devastating, and he'll throw it as low as 83 miles an hour. And you can read the screen right there. 10 scoreless outings, and the Rebels need him tonight. The reason they have him going in tonight right now is to solidify that Game 1 win, and the Rebs have the lead. This is the perfect guy to bring in.
You mentioned he needs to get 9 outs. He's only gotten 9 outs once this season. That was his first outing against TCU back on February 20th. When he threw a season-high 61 pitches. Drew Bianco can do some damage to his dad's sleeping patterns. A big hit here. Mike Bianco's going to be up all night. Here's the pitch. And Broadway misses upstairs. Bianco's 0 for 2, struck out on a fastball in the 2nd inning, popped up to 2nd in the 5th. Chance for redemption for the hometown product. Broadway upstairs with 96, and Bianco committed to it. 1-1. What is really interesting about going to Taylor Broadway here is this would be, as you mentioned, a 3-inning save for Broadway. And then the question becomes, well, then what do you do the rest of the weekend? He went back-to-back against Arkansas after 45 pitches in Game 2 of a doubleheader on April 10th, and then came back and threw in that Sunday game. But that remains the only time this season he's thrown on consecutive days. The 1-1. Just off the plate with 95. Fair strike zone from John Brammer behind the plate.
Well, let me throw something at you as far as that goes. Your game 2 starter, if you're Ole Miss, is Doug Nikhazy, and what he did against Mississippi State, throwing a complete game shutout. He only allowed one base runner on base, and no one got past first base. That base runner only stayed at first base. So Nikhazy, you would hope that you get a similar outing to what you had last week, and if he does that, that may save Broadway so that you can bring him back in on the Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That was a one-hit complete game shutout for Nikhazy. 2-2 to Bianco. And Bianco touches it deep right field. Leatherwood back to the fence at the wall, and the catch is made by McCants. He gets taken down. DiGiacomo will tag and head to third. And now they got to play at second, but nobody's there. That was Bianco who ran all the way to second. He didn't know it was caught, and DiGiacomo ends up at third. Leatherwood is shaken up after colliding with McCants. All right, I'm sitting on a couch in Atlanta. McCants caught that ball, didn't he?
He absolutely did.
DiGiacomo was able to tag. What a job by McCants, David, not to drop that ball after the collision. If he hadn't gotten to his feet with it, it wouldn't have been a catch. Walk us through what you see.
Yeah, the distance that both of these guys had to go to get to that ball is incredible. T.J. McCants is a converted infielder that has super range. The concentration is even better because he knows he's got Hayden Leatherwood bearing down on him, and that is not a ball that you can easily call. Both of those guys are going at it. They're not sure that they can get to the ball until the last second. Concentrate on the ball, catch it, very impressive, and then the collide and have the grip strength to hold on to that ball and not let it fall out of your glove is an absolutely incredible play. Then to have the wherewithal to stand up and make the throw, it's just an outstanding job, and you just hope that Hayden Leatherwood is not seriously injured. Maybe that's just a knee that collided in the wall and he can walk it off. Hope it's nothing more serious than that.
They're going to review this, and I wonder if they're going to look at whether or not DiGiacomo left early. I think first of all they want to make sure it was a catch. So you can review catch, no catch.
Look at the distance right here. Watch how far T.J. McCants has to run to get this ball. It's incredible distance. And then the concentration. You can feel that right fielder bearing down on you. You know he's coming. And to stay with that ball and sacrifice your body knowing you're going to collide is an outstanding job. And I think it was kind of thrown off. If DiGiacomo did not tag properly, it looks like the ball comes out, but it's actually T.J. McCants' hat that flies off, not necessarily the ball.
DiGiacomo did go back and touch the base. He had a half-step lead originally, and then after the collision, re-tag, and it is something that you can review if a runner failed to retouch a base after a fair or foul ball is legally caught. And it seemed fairly evident there. Bianco went out to check on Leatherwood, and it seems like he's going to stay in the game. That was a total yard sale out there.
Yeah, I don't look, you have John Rice Plumlee on the bench, who's a fantastic defender. It's late in the ball game. You're up by 2 in the 7th inning. I think the smart thing to do is not to risk it right here. Even if Leatherwood is healthy enough to stay in the game, he's not full speed. The best move, I think, is to put a defensive replacement in.
And that's indeed what will happen. Everything's copacetic on the LSU side. Plumlee will get loose. Led the SEC in rushing as a quarterback 2 years ago and played wide receiver in Ole Miss's bowl game last year after backing up Matt Corral. So Leatherwood leaves and Alex Milazzo is due up here in the 7th inning. You know what's really interesting, if we consider how Mike Bianco is using Taylor Broadway in this game, as you go back to the state series and the decision that weighs on a head coach, when do I go to my guy? And can I get the ball to Taylor Broadway? And Ole Miss wasn't able to do that this weekend. They held him. They wanted to use him in a high leverage situation. The game came unraveled before they could get to him. And then it's done. So he's taking that out of the equation tonight. Like, we'll just go to him in the 7th. We'll do it here. And LSU will go to the bench for Mitchell Sanford. He'll hit in the catcher spot.
Tom, we talked earlier in the game about the mentor that Coach Mike Bianco had at LSU and Skip Bertman, and this is exactly what Skip Bertman would do in this opportunity. He would bring his closer out to try to get the game 1 W. You can see how many years down the line Coach Bianco still calls a game very similar to what Coach Bertman would do. You play the stats, you play the numbers. More often than not, you're gonna come out ahead.
0-1 to Sanford, and he's quickly down to the count 0-2.
It also is a reflection on the state of the bullpen as well. And if you did have the setup guy that you trusted, as Ole Miss has had in the past, you would go ahead and hand the ball off to him to bridge the gap to Broadway. But right now, that back end of the bullpen has been a little bit shaky, so you bring it to the best arm that you have out there.
A lot of elements at play right now with Mike Bianco going to Taylor Broadway in the 7th. Upstairs 1-2. Broadway entered the Mississippi State finale only after Austin Miller had allowed a couple of hits, would be charged with a couple of runs before all was said and done. 94 right past him, 2 down.
Well, this is Taylor Broadway at his best right here. Fastball that it gives the effect as if it is rising because that four seam is catching the wind and staying elevated. If you have any dip in your swing, you cannot catch up to that pitch. And look, here's another thing to think about too, Tom. These guys are closers. Sometimes the game is on the line in other innings besides the ninth. I mean, this is the game right here. You've got a runner now on third base. You're up by 2. You get out of this jam, you quite possibly can go the next 2 innings without having a runner on base. So why would you waste this opportunity and put somebody in there when you have a closer waiting that can slam the door right here?
Trey Morgan, back-to-back breaking balls, count 2-0. It's probably the next 2 innings, because if he takes care of Morgan, Then Broadway will face the 2, 3, and 4 slots in the 8th inning. But no doubt, after the leadoff double by DiGiacomo, the tipping point of the game. Missed with the fastball, 3-0 now. On the other side, if you're LSU, you get a leadoff double down 2. And if you can't get DiGiacomo in, forget about tying it. You just need to get one across first and worry about the rest later. Swinging on 3-0. It's a base hit to right field. DiGiacomo will score, and we've got a 1-run game.
Freshman by class, but upperclassmen by play. What a fantastic job of Trey Morgan taking advantage of the situation. And if you're going to swing at 3-0 in the 7th inning down by 2, you feel very confident not only in your swing but the pitch selection. And it was a fantastic pitch to drive in the right field for the RBI.
So here's Dylan Cruz, top-rated prospect to come to campus after last season's draft. Only a 5-round draft this summer. Cruz 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored. Breaking ball in for a strike. Cruz withdrew his name a week before the draft. He was a perfect game All-America, Under Armour All-America, Team USA at 14 and under and 18 and under. He's played at Wrigley, Petco, and Progressive Field. He's been all over the place. And he drives it deep left field. It is gone, and Cruz gives LSU the lead.
A lot of guys will tell you you're watching basically a Mike Trout clone at the collegiate level, and that's why right there Dylan Cruz annihilates a fastball in the mid-90s to the left field. No doubter. It shows the talent that he has to be able to catch up with a fastball and have the pop in his bat to hit it out on a night with no wind whatsoever to put the Tigers up by 1.
Curveball swung on and missed by Gavin Dugas. What a turn of events for an LSU team that has had nothing go right this season. Paul Mainieri, after the LSU series loss, after the Tennessee series loss, said, you know what? Every game comes down to a play or a swing or a catch or a pitch, and we didn't make any of those plays. Dylan Cruz just made a play. This is an LSU team that's fighting uphill to get into the NCAA tournament for a program that believes Omaha is its birthright. Missing out on the big dance would be a big miss. Little dribbler, bench, too late. And LSU with another base runner here in the 7th against Taylor Broadway. And David, now here's the other side of the coin for Ole Miss. You've gone to your closer in the 7th. He's allowed 3 straight hits, including a 2-run home run. He's at 20 pitches now. And you trail by 1. How committed are you to using Broadway to finish this game? Or at what point do you say, you know what, we might need you tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you try to get him through this inning. You try to allow him to get one more out, see what your offense can do in the bottom of 7th.
And he gets that final out. But the first home run allowed by Taylor Broadway this season, a no-doubter off the bat of Dylan Cruz.
Boy, all of the hype in the world in the biggest situation of the year for this young man and the Tigers, he comes through with an absolute bomb to turn things around in the
past season. Died following.
Yeah, and said, that was easy. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
Terrence Clark, a freshman guard for Kentucky this past season, died following a car accident in the Los Angeles area this Thursday afternoon. He was training for the NBA. He was with his dear friend B.J. Boston Jr., who was in a car ahead of Clark, according to reports. Boston is not injured. Clark was just 19 years old. Sympathies to the Kentucky family, to Terrence Clark and his family back in Boston. Meanwhile, this game continues. Devin Fontenot takes the mound for LSU. And the Tigers now with the lead as we go to the home half of the seventh. 19th appearance on the season for Fontenot. He's 1-2. And he's going to try to close this one out for LSU.
Yep, similar scenario. Coach Maneri is thinking right along the lines as Coach Mike Bianco to bring the closer in the seventh inning, potentially try to get 9 outs right here. Devin Fontenot, when he is on, he is about as good as you're going to get at the back end of the bullpen. At times he can become shaky, lose his command.
Little flare handled by Bianco. 1 down. And that'll bring T.J. McCants to the plate. It has a feeling, David, with both teams going to their closers, and I know it's for different reasons, but on the LSU side, it feels like an elimination game almost. And maybe that's where LSU is now in this season. Currently projected out of the tournament field. That one crossed up his catcher. But Paul Maneri's, he's got to put all chips in the middle of the table and do whatever they can to try and make it to the postseason. And heck, as of now, they're competing for a spot just to make it to the SEC tournament, which you never say about LSU.
No, the good thing about LSU is that they're a team that gets hot as the season goes on. So they're in a somewhat familiar spot, although they're a little further behind than normal at this point of the season. But you're right. They have to take advantage of every lead from the seventh inning on. Every game is a must-win situation. In order to get into the SEC tournament, they're looking behind them, and they got to be better than Auburn and or A&M and or Missouri. And if you have an opportunity to get the win, you absolutely have to get this win.
2 up and 2 down. This is Hayden Leatherwood's spot in the order, but remember John Rice Plumlee replaced him in right field. Plumlee's had some success against LSU on the football field. He was running all over a national championship team, ran for over 200 yards in this game. And like many defenses, they knew he was fast, but they were surprised by his speed. 21 carries, 212 yards, and he ran for 4 touchdowns against LSU in 2019. OPS over 1,000. Plumlee's been starting many game ones of SEC series. Mike Bianco loves the experience that he brings to the field, the leadership. Obviously, he played football in front of 100,000. Thursday night baseball game doesn't have the same kind of pressure. Plumlee hasn't been playing football this spring. He's been around the facility and around the program, but he will not play in the Grove Bowl this weekend. Watches some film, sits in on meetings, but no practices. 3-0 pitch to him. Lane Kiffin, before the bowl game against Indiana, asked him if he could play some wide receiver. They were missing some guys. He went out there and he caught the biggest pass of the game. Had never played wide receiver before. David, he didn't even know a wide receiver's stance. Which foot do I put forward? How do I get off the ball? What am I supposed to do? And he draws a 2-out walk here in a 1-run game.
When you have that kind of speed, you just have the quarterback, Matt Corral, just do like, the backyard football when you use your finger to draw a line either on your chest or in the dirt and just go, hey, John Rice, do this. And don't let anybody get near you. I'll throw you the ball. You catch it, and you keep going to the end zone.
Yeah, if you're playing out in the street, you say run to the Lincoln and run a hook. Kel Baker at the plate now in the 8-hole. He's got a couple of hits tonight, and now a 6-game hit streak. One on and two out in a one-run game. Fontenot's breaking ball misses away, 1-1. Fontenot, preseason All-American out of the Woodlands in Texas. Another curveball in for a strike. Talking to Paul Maneri about his closer. He said he was phenomenal against Kentucky. Threw a couple innings against South Carolina. They hit a ball good into right field. We didn't take a great route. If you catch it, it's a sac fly, 2-1 game with a 9-hole hitter coming up. Instead, the ball drops. It's a tie game. He hits the next guy. Then he hangs a slider for a 2-run double, and things can come unraveled just like that. And he kind of crystal balled this walk to Plumlee. He said, you know, when we put Fontenot in the game, it's rarely a clean inning. He compared him to Don Stanhouse, the closer for the Orioles, eccentric guy who played for Earl Weaver. Earl Weaver called him full pack because when Don Stanhouse would come in to close out a game, Earl would have time to smoke a full pack of cigarettes. He'd walk the bases loaded. Then he'd get to work. You said the same thing about a guy you played with, Matt Manti.
Matt Manti, we labeled him the most exciting player in Major League Baseball because if he came in, he had to load the bases up before he started to strike people out.
Fontenot strikes out Baker with a tying run on base. It's a 5-4 LSU lead as we go to the 8th here in Game 1 of the weekend.
Moment of pure.
8th inning of action. Game 1 of this series, LSU leads 5-4. Derek Diamond, the spot starter for Ole Miss, was magnificent through 6 innings. And then Taylor Broadway, the closer, gave up the lead. Here's Cade Beloso, swings at the first, shallow right. Plumlee calls off Chatinier. And the pianist makes the play. There's one down. For the 42nd straight year, the NFL Draft is on ESPN. It's also on the NFL Network, and the Game Day crew will be on ABC again this year, covering it from the college perspective. It all comes to you next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, with all 3 days on ESPN Deportes, ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app. Here's Jordan Thompson. I miss being on campus the weekend of the drafts. Be there for a college baseball game. You keep track of the draft, and you see the excitement roll through the stadium. We had former Ole Miss athletic director Ross Bjork in the booth with us a few years ago during the draft. This was in 2016. And that was the infamous Laramie Tunsil night. And he happened to be on the air with us when all of the news broke around Tunsil. And I asked him about it later. And he said, well, I had a great visit with you guys. He goes, I intentionally left my phone out of the booth, you know, so it wouldn't ring while I was on the air. He said, I left the booth. I reached down to pick up my phone, and that thing was smoking. Maybe not the right descriptor to use.
Yeah.
Regarding Thompson, but you get the drift. Thompson sends a ground ball to the left side, coming around at Gonzalez, and a tough play. Means Thompson reaches against his counterpart. Infield single, I believe, for Thompson. And here's Giovanni DiGiacomo. Got the rally started in the 7th with a double down the line. It is a base hit, and it's a second hit of the game for Thompson. Thompson 4 for 4 on the base paths this year. DiGiacomo's at bat in the 4th was something. And he swings at this one. No surprise there, and he bangs it up the middle. He's got a 2-hit night going.
Well, another nice piece of hitting right here by DiGiacomo. And Tom, we had discussed it earlier, and you asked the importance of Giovanni DiGiacomo to this team, and you see it tonight. I mean, the ability for him to get on base, to start rallies, to continue rallies, to man the outfield. Boy, just a huge piece of the puzzle for the LSU Tiger baseball team, and to finally get him back healthy really helps this team. It gives them the speed that they've been lacking for the first half of the season.
Broadway in trouble again. He's completed 1 trip through the batting order. He's allowed 5 hits, and that one gets past Gonzalez. Thompson will get to third, and LSU has loaded the bases with 1 out in the 8th against Ole Miss's closer. Last 3 pitches have all been put into play for singles.
Well, they're singles, but they're struck well. I mean, they're finding the barrel, not necessarily getting them lifted into the air, but well hit balls. And LSU has taken very comfortable swings against Taylor Broadway. He's at the pitch count of 28 pitches. Coach Bianco is at a very interesting spot in this game right here. And you said it, he's on the verge, and if he keeps him in, I think anything over 30 pitches makes him questionable for game 2 tomorrow.
This is Austin Miller and Bianco out of the Ole Miss dugout. He's got the 9-hole hitter due up. You think this could possibly be, hey man, get a double play and get out of here? Because this will be your last guy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely what it is. Try to get a ground ball. Let's get out of here. Get back in the dugout. Go at it. I mean, just bring whatever you got right here.
Oddly enough, as good as Ole Miss has been this season, they are 202nd in the country in turning double plays. They've only turned 15 of them. On the other side, just relatively speaking, their opponents have turned 38. Now, usually that's a byproduct of having guys on base, and that's understandable. But still, there's nothing automatic about it, especially for a team that's already committed 3 errors in this game. lifted deep right field. Plumlee back at the track almost, and he makes the catch. Tagging from third is Jordan Thompson. He'll score. Throw to second. Got him! And now they'll have to look and see whether or not the run scored before the third out. They waved it off as Drew Bianco gets thrown out trying to advance to second. Paul Maneri is out to talk with the home plate umpire to ask for a review of this, it seems like. What a huge mistake that was by Bianco, thrown out by Plumlee. No question it's an inning-ending double play. The only question is whether or not Thompson's run came across before the third out was recorded.
This is an absolute laser throw right here. Drew Bianco may be thinking Plumlee was a run quarterback, not a throw quarterback, so he was going to take the chance. But goodness gracious, what a rifle of an arm. And the play is in front of you. If you're the base runner at first, you can see that, and you can put the brakes on. If you think that there's a chance that you're going to get thrown out, you just hold up to make sure that the runner crosses home plate. Well, this would be awful for the LSU Tigers if they didn't score that run.
Now keep in mind, the tag was on the front side of the base at second. That's when they ruled Bianco out, as opposed to the second tag after he went through the bag. But a good job keeping the tag on him. If it would have been the second tag, then the run would have scored.
Yeah, John Rice fires a strike, and his momentum is carrying him toward the foul line to make that throw even more impressive. And there's no question Drew Bianco is out right here, and you'll see the second base umpire will make the call right here. He does not wait. There's no question whatsoever. It is called on the first tag right there. There's the punch.
No run. It remains a one-run game. And Paul Maneri will not have an opportunity to argue further. LSU misses a chance at an insurance run. Maneri is out arguing regardless. Tough break for LSU. Drew Bianco runs into the third out before the insurance run can cross. One-run game, bottom of the eighth right after this.
One for go.
Can get you kneeling the.
You see right here, you got to love the aggressive base running by Drew Bianco, but the throw in this case right here with the runner tagging up from third base, the throw and the tag are going to be in front of you. The throw is coming from your right side, and if you realize it's going to be bang bang or you have the possibility of getting thrown out, you got to stop to allow that base runner to cross home plate before you get out. Very, very huge play. Very big momentum shift for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Here's Calvin Harris to lead off the eighth inning for Ole Miss. Devin Fontenot on the mound for the Tigers. So we got Mike Bianco coaching against his son who plays at LSU tonight. Week 2 of the football season. Ed Ogeron will coach against his son Cody, who's a quarterback at McNeese. And oh, by the way, Drew Bianco and Cody Ogeron are best of friends from their time together when their dads were both the head coach at Ole Miss. I was in Baton Rouge for a basketball game, went by the football facility this past February, Friday afternoon. Ran into Coach O in the parking lot. He was getting ready to jump on the interstate and go over to McNeese and watch a scrimmage that weekend and watch Cody play some quarterback. Here's the 1-2. Inside for a strike with a fastball, and Harris goes down looking. What a lineup we have for you this weekend. Saturday night on ABC, Luka the Mavs host AD and the Lakers. UFC 261 is on pay-per-view. The prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus. And Sunday afternoon, the Nets host the Suns. And then our Sunday night baseball matchup is a series finale between the Padres and the Dodgers. Here's Jacob Gonzalez. You were talking about Austin Nola trying to get back from that hand injury for the Padres. Years ago when he was playing in the minors and just kind of stuck, he called up former LSU catcher Micah Gibbs. He said, hey, man, let's go to Rufino's. I got something to run by you. So over dinner, he asked Micah, how long do you think it would take me to transition to catcher? And Mike is like, man, you're a great athlete. I don't think it would take that long. They worked together for like 2 months, and Mike has said, that guy was better than I was after like 3 weeks. Gonzalez with a 2-run home run his last time up. That one will fall untouched. Not much action in college baseball tonight. Number 1, Arkansas opened its season with South Carolina with a 6-1 win in Columbia. Charleston Southern beat UNC Asheville. They moved that game up because of bad weather coming towards Asheville. That one high to left, but at the track, nice play by Dugas. 2 down. Tennessee Martin beat Eastern Illinois 5-1. They played that one a little bit early because of weather also. Same thing with Alabama A&M beating Alcorn State. And West Coast action in Spokane. Gonzaga all over BYU 10-1 in the 6th. That's it. That's all the college baseball on this Thursday night. Peyton Chatinier at the plate. And meanwhile, the talk of the college baseball world is the Fairfield Stags. They're undefeated at 21-0. They're the number 1 team in the RPI. They've played 1 road game. They've played 0 non-conference games. They haven't played a single top 25 opponent. Their strength of schedule is 73rd. Yet they're in front of Arkansas, Tennessee, TCU, Oregon, East Carolina, Vandy, and the likes. Curveball from Fontenot misses. 2-1. It looks out of place, to be honest. But all they've done is win, and you can't fault them for that. They beat St. Peter's in a game that was a forfeit after beating them 20-2 Wednesday night. They're supposed to play a second. St. Peter's is like, we just lost 20-2. We have no more pitchers. They'll play a road series against Manhattan this weekend. 4 against the Jaspers.
Well, that would be their argument toward Arkansas, right? Well, Arkansas is leading the nation in homers. Yeah, but we're so good, we have teams forfeiting that don't want to play us.
There's ball 4, and the tying run is reached on a walk to Chatinier. They play in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. They are only playing conference opponents. It'll be really interesting to see what the selection committee does with them. Here's Kevin Graham. He homered in the first inning. It was his 7th home run of the season. He's reached base safely in 31 consecutive games now. Came inside again on him, 1-1. What makes that pitch so difficult?
Well, I tell you, this is the Devin Fontenot that Coach Maneri wants to see day in and day out. That pitch right there, that's a fastball. It's a two-seam fastball that out of his hand looks like it's going to be straight. Kevin Graham was taking an aggressive cut at it, and it just sunk and ran away from that barrel. That was a perfect pitch with an outstanding location.
Time granted. One to Graham. Trying to throw it again, missed it low. 3 straight. Same pitch to Graham. As a hitter, now you've seen the same pitch 3 times in a row. Does Fontenot go back to it, or what is your line of thinking?
Well, for a professional hitter like Kevin Graham, I think you've got to mix it up, because now he sees how this ball has late life on it and how it's going to sink away from him. Kevin Graham can dial this pitch up and knows that if it's going to be on the inside part of that plate, it's going to sink over the heart of the plate. I would mix up a slider right here.
He does in a big cut, 2-2.
And what makes that slider so effective is the fact he's got that fastball he's throwing around knee high with late action to it, and then when he releases that slider at the same elevation, the hitter thinks it's a fastball. He starts his swing, but that nasty break of the slider goes down into the dirt.
Trying to go away. It's grounded on the right side. And a short arm made it interesting. We got a 1-run game as we head to the 9th. Ole Miss strands another runner. 5-4 Tigers.
Next, who is becoming
3 the line for Ole Miss. Missed opportunities for the Rebels will be the story of this game if they can't pull off the comeback. They have stranded 11 base runners in this game. Taylor Broadway still in this game as we go to the 9th. He entered in the 7th. Does that surprise you?
I think Coach Bianco committed to him early on, and you know, once he reaches that pitch count where you know you've burned him and can't use him tomorrow, you might as well let him go as long as he's effective. And Taylor Broadway has been effective. He, had a rough couple of batters. Dylan Cruz has made a lot of pitchers look bad during the course of this year, but stick with him, let him finish this game out. Hope your offense can get some runs.
Trey Morgan dumps this one into right field, takes a wide turn of first, and tempting for Chatinier to try to throw behind him. Leadoff single, 3rd hit of the game for the freshman. It was a 4-2 lead going into the 7th inning for Ole Miss. LSU was able to get a 2-run home run from Dylan Cruz following a Trey Morgan RBI single. Both coming against Broadway. And here's Cruz again. It was a monster shot for one of the top prospects in the game. If LSU is able to pull this game off, it will be the first time this season that they have won a game when trailing after the 6th inning. Coming into tonight, they were 0-10 in that scenario. Meanwhile, on the Ole Miss side, they were 24-1 when leading after 6 innings. One to Cruz, blocked by Dunhurst.
Isn't that the beauty of baseball? Everything can change in one pitch. And you'll always get another chance. You're always going to get another at bat. You're always going to get another pitch. And the game's never over until you get that 27th out. And that was, one of the issues that Ole Miss has had tonight, especially early on in the game. They gave LSU way too many chances. Had an opportunity to put them out early in the game. Extended Derek Diamond's outing a lot longer than what he was hoping for. And same thing here. Coach Bianco told us, these young players are learning that there's extreme importance on every single pitch that you throw. And the game can totally change in one pitch. And tonight is a great example of that.
Runner goes, pitch is high, throw to second is high. And fine play by Chatinier to come down with it. It was a walk regardless, so it doesn't matter. But that Chatinier reaction kept it from getting into center, an extra base for Morgan.
Yeah, great athleticism by Chatinier, another player that was hampered by injuries early on in the season, but you can see right there does a good job. Trey Morgan was going to get to second no matter what on the base on balls, but he keeps that ball from going to center field.
Here's Gavin Dugas, 1 for 4 tonight. Nothing in 1. Big cut at 93. It's not uncommon with LSU baseball to have home state kids show up on campus after growing up huge LSU fans. That's the case with Dugas. Louisiana native. And he pops this one up. Foul territory. There's a lot of room over there. Cale Baker in the coach's box. 1 down. And that'll bring Cade Doty to the plate. Doty's the same. He's got LSU family, including his great-grandpa Frank, who played basketball at LSU back in the 1930s. They played basketball in the Armory back then from 1930 to 37, played for head coach Harry Ravenhorst, who won 604 games and led LSU to the Final Four in 1953 with one of the best players in LSU history, Bob Pettit. Nobody was at the bag after the lead by Trey Morgan. Cade, sophomore from Denham Springs. It's amazing how much experience elite players can gather even before they make it to high school. Doty was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state. He was on a collegiate baseball All-America, Team USA, 3 different times, and that included the 2017 World Baseball Classic in Japan. That kind of experience, David, must be invaluable.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of big leaguers that wish that they could go play in Japan, as MLB makes that kind of world tour right there. But you talk about playing in front of hostile environments.
Shuffle to second for 1, on to first, half step late. And there's 2 on with 2 out here in the 9th for LSU.
Well, nice play right here by Jacob Gonzalez. Does a good job. Very quick with the catch and release right there, but he does the most important thing, and that's make sure you get that first out. And Cade Doty on the other end hustling down the first base line, making sure even though he hit that ground ball, he doesn't get doubled up and get his team out of the inning.
Okay, Beloso is 0 for 4. Strike called, 0-1. Taylor Broadway came into the game, 5th in the country in saves. This will be a blown save for him tonight. And he'll need a rally in the 9th to avoid the L. 0-1. Peeking ahead to the Ole Miss half of the 9th, it'll be Dunhurst, Bench, and McCants due up. Trailing at least by 1.
A nice pitch by Broadway. He's been throwing well with the fastball, but that's a good off speed right there to get Beloso on his front foot. This young man right here, along with DiGiacomo, is another veteran at bat for LSU that they need to get going. He came into this game, he was on a 10-for-22 streak, so he's getting his swing back just like DiGiacomo. 2 important pieces for the Tigers.
Swing and a miss. Broadway finishes the 9th with the K. It's a 1-run game as we go to the home half. Rebels need 1 to tie and 2 for the win on this opening Thursday night.
For street.
Not for the bottom of the 9th inning. The Rebels are just 2 for 16 with runners on base. This is a team that's had success in close games, 7-2 in 1-run games. Here's Hayden Dunhurst. Dunhurst is 0 for 2. He's drawn a pair of walks in this one. Rocks that one off of John Brammer's mask. Dunhurst, Bench, and McCants. Third inning of work for Fontenot. Curveball misses up and in. Dunhurst riding a 4-game hit streak. 500 over the last 4. They'll take a walk.
Well, that'd be huge for Ole Miss to get the leadoff batter on base. And you mentioned Skip Burtman. He was a big fan of statistics, and more often than not, when the leadoff man walks, he'll come around to score. That's what Ole Miss is hoping for.
Count full after he fouls off the fastball. This is an LSU team that got off to one of its worst starts in history in conference play. They have a chance to take the first game of the series. It would be huge. But a leadoff walk from the closer, Fontenot. will bring the winning run to the plate. LSU was 1-8 through its first 3 SEC series. They took 2 or 3 from Kentucky. They lost 2 or 3 to South Carolina. And now here they are, game number 1 against Ole Miss, fighting for their postseason lives. Justin Bench. Breaking ball high, 1-0.
We saw Devin Fontenot early on out of the pen. Boy, he had pinpoint accuracy. He was locating not only his fastball, especially the sinker, but he was also locating that slider right there. But to Hayden Dunhurst and now to Justin Bench, it looks like he's losing his command a little bit.
Chopped off of his ankle. Nobody throwing in the LSU pen. This is Fontenot's game. He entered to start the 7th. He is not allowed a hit, but he's walked 1 batter each inning. One to Bench. Muscled into right field. It's down for a hit. Dunhurst will stop at second. And the Rebels have a pair on and nobody out in a 1-run game.
Terrific piece of hitting right here by Justin Bench. Not trying to do too much, not trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he gets a fastball middle end and he stays through it, shoots it the other way. Nice job of hitting with enough power in his bat to hit that ball over the first baseman into right field.
Everybody's going to meet on the mound. LSU is no stranger to late inning drama. They have already lost 2 games this season that they entered in the 9th with the lead. They are 3-4 in 1-run games this year. It was interesting. We're talking to Coach recently. And he said, listen, I hear all this talk about 1-run games. If you lose 1-run games, you're not a good team. That's the way it is. Nobody wants to lose 1-run games, but they happen for a reason. Here's TJ McCants. Chance to be the hero for Ole Miss. 92. Just missed 1-0 to McCants. Singled his first time up.
And that's perfect location by Devin Fontenot right there. He wants to keep this fastball down in the strike zone because he would love to get a ground ball that LSU can turn 2 on. And the best way to do it is to keep the fastball down. Don't elevate it.
Does the same, and it's fouled off 1-1. Dunhurst the runner at second. Bench is at first with nobody out. Ole Miss is 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position tonight. They came into this weekend with the 3rd best RISP in the SEC. They do not bunt. They are last in the conference with 2 sacrifice bunts.
Well, look, if that's not something that you're good at, and Coach Bianco is not going to break it out in the bottom of the 9th against rival LSU in game one. He's going to stick with what these guys are comfortable with, not try to make them do something that not only are they not used to, but have not done it in this situation, this pressure-packed situation.
1-2 to the freshman. Curveball off the knuckles. Ole Miss's offense tonight has come from the long ball. Solo shot from Graham in the first. Leatherwood hit one in the fourth. A 2-run shot from Gonzalez in the sixth. And that accounts for all of the offense for Mike Bianco's team. Situationally, they have not done a good job. The 1-2 to McCants. That one got the catcher Wyeth. Jake Wyatt Jr. from Lake Travis, Texas. Junior college transfer. Winning run at first base. Here's the 1-2 pitch to McCants. Swing and a miss. Huge first out with 2 aboard.
Great location. Once again, we see that fastball that Devin Fontenot is not afraid to throw on the inside part of that plate with some late life to it. The batter has to make his mind up in about the first third of the distance out of the pitcher's hands. And when they see that, they think it's a fastball going to go straight. In the second third, that ball is moving, and sometimes it's too late for them to adjust the barrel.
Jake Wyatt is the second catcher LSU has used tonight, not the third, and that's key because he is injured now. 2 pitches ago when he took that foul ball off of his left hand. And he's going to have to leave the game here in the 9th inning. You don't see this very often, but LSU has 3 catchers who have started games this season. They'll get Hayden Travinsky, I believe, wired up. Or is it Doty? So they'll use Braden Doty in this situation.
Braden Doty is the brother of third baseman Cade Doty. And quite often, this late in the ball game, you have a lot of guys during the course of the game, especially from the 5th inning on, that are in that dugout getting loose. They're stretching their legs. Sometimes they'll run out to the bullpen, make some throws or whatever. Not sure if Cade Doty was out there catching bullpens or not, but oftentimes the catcher is not one of the guys getting loose because it takes quite a few injuries before they can find themselves into the ball game. We're going to see if Ole Miss is going to press the issue right here and try to put pressure on Braden Doty, who's just entered the ball game.
24 stolen bases as a team for Ole Miss. It's bottom 3rd in the SEC. They don't run much. Here's John Rice Plumlee. Second plate appearance. He drew a walk in the 7th. Came in after Hayden Leatherwood left the game after an outfield collision with T.J. McCants. Fouled off.
Well, and I was interested to see what John Rice was going to do. He had 2 hits in the midweek game. He's been swinging the bat a lot better, but this is a young man that can absolutely fly. And I'm not saying that the thought of a sacrifice bunt was in my mind, but a possible bunt for a base hit because it'd be very difficult to throw him out, especially with the new catcher in the ball game. But he chose to swing away to try to drive that run in.
Elite speed, the 1-1. In for a strike. It will be very hard to turn two with Plumlee running. Dude led the SEC in rushing. Ball and 2 strikes. Fontenot delivers. Breaking ball waved at. Two down.
This slider right here starts over the middle of the plate and breaks out of the strike zone. Devin Fontenot complements that late life sinking fastball with a good slider. 2-pitch arsenal makes it very difficult for any hitter to sit on a single pitch.
So it comes down to Cale Baker. 2 home runs in the season. He's 2 for 4 tonight. Baker last homered on April 13th against Austin Peay. His first home run came in the first game of the year against Arkansas State. Eight-hole hitter's hot. He's got a 6-game hit streak going. One-0 to Baker with 2 on. Ground ball down the third base line. Picked up. No race to the bag. Not in time. Doty couldn't get there, and the bases are loaded. Hayden Dunhurst beat Doty to the bag.
How about this ball? It is a hot shot down the third baseline. And even though Cade Doty does not get the out, he saves 1, possibly 2 runs. If that ball gets by him, it's in the corner for extra bases. Fantastic defensive play by Cade Doty.
Looks like they're going to go take a look at this one. Wouldn't that be anticlimactic to have it end on a review? I thought when we saw it live and on that replay that it was clear that Dunhurst beat him to the bag. You see it any differently?
Nope. Yeah, I agree with you. Even in live speed, it was obvious that Dunhurst was safe. But hey, I mean, we're in the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. Got to check just to make sure. The umpires, more often than not, since review has been introduced, have made the right calls. There's been occasional call here or there that was incorrect, but that is absolutely the correct call.
So Calvin Harris will enter, come to the plate, I should say, with the bases loaded in a 1-run game and 2 down. It's already the longest outing of the season for Fontenot and the most pitches thrown. Dunhurst at third, Bench at second, and Baker with the fielder's choices at first. Harris fouls off the first. Pardon me, they'll call that an infield single for Baker. LSU trying to pull off a road upset to start their weekend right. Here's the 0-1 to Harris. Again, he fouls it off. It's 0-2.
Fontenot's got to be careful right here, especially with the new catcher. He cannot bounce a ball in the dirt, potentially let the tying run come in from third.
DeWine and the 0-2 pitch. Fouled off another.
And, you know, if you're the batter in this situation right here, especially the left-handed hitting Calvin Harris, and he's seen the way that Devin Fontenot has been throwing that sinking fastball down and in to lefties, that's what he's got to be looking for.
Full windup with the bases juice. Swing and a miss. LSU comes from behind and takes game number 1. Fontenot, a 3-inning save. What a thriller tonight.
That's the closer that Coach Paul Maneri wants to see on the mound. Devin Fontenot was lights out for a 3-inning save. LSU is still alive and breathing, taking game 1 behind a great pitching performance by Landon Marceau and the big bash by the freshman Dylan Cruz.
Well, this was a thriller. I'd love to sit around and talk about it. We can discuss it all night. They tell us we got to go. LSU takes game number 1.